He's either a contractor, an informant, an employee, a collaborator, a snitch. He's any one of these things. This man has connections to Fed. This man was an agent provocateur. That's my opinion. And it's one that is substantially fleshed out in material facts. This is January 5th. This smirking prick among the young people trying to get young people to do stupid things because their brains are not fully developed yet. The, what's the word that my wife would say? The one that controls short-term decisions, impulsive decision-making. A young person's brain is not developed yet. This guy's going in here to manipulate a young crowd, whip them up to do something stupid. So stupid that even he knows he'll get arrested even for saying it. Peacefully! Look at it. Look at his face. Look at his face right now. Holy crap. I was told this would be easy by the feds.
Tomorrow? I don't even like to say it because I'll be arrested.
Well, let's not say it. No, except I won't. Oh, until 3 years down the line, I'll get one little misdemeanor charge.
We need to go.
I'll say it.
We need to go.
Look at this guy on the right here. Shut the F up, man. These kids know better.
I didn't see that coming. Okay.
And now we're the day of. So we're just bear all of this in mind when we go through Ann Coulter's logical, intellectual, honesty, integrity melting.
We are going to the Capitol.
Who the hell is this guy to be doing this the next day? When the president is done speaking, we are going into the Capitol. But not just that. That's where our problems lie.
Where our problems are.
It's that. I mean, it's almost a joke watching this. Wearing a Trump hat. Look at his hands. He's uncomfortable. He's like, are they going along with it? Spread the word.
All right. No, Dave, but one more thing.
Can we go up there? No?
When we go in.
When we go in, Ann Coulter. Not do not go in. When we go in. Don't bring that. We don't need to get shot like Ashley Babbitt. You know, inside, they're not going to know who's an agent provocateur and who isn't. They might shoot us by accident, so don't bring that in.
We're going to get arrested. We go up there?
Yeah, you don't need to get shot.
Don't need to get shot. Someone needs to get shot. Don't want it to be us. Cops have no way of knowing who's a Fed and who's not. They might just shoot a Fed by accident. Oh, this is when Ann Coulter said, he says, don't go in. Right after he said, when we go in, now he's saying, don't go in. Well, he got, I'm not trying to be mean here, he got his useful illness to go and storm the Capitol. He's very happy with his work. I mean, he's so happy with his work, he texts his nephew afterwards and says, I orchestrated all this. Where is he now? That's Ray Epps. Right there, I believe, in the camel, the red. Let's go. LFG, let's fucking go. We did it. You did it, Epps. Well done. Oh, but what's her face? What's her face? Ann Coulter comes out.
What's her face?
Stop spreading conspiracy theories, Vivek Ramaswamy, for retweeting that tweet from Darren J. Beatty. This has been explained a million times. I mean, the thing is this: what is really, really phenomenal, what is really shocking about this, that video that we just watched is in the very thread to which Ann Coulter is replying. She didn't even watch the video in the thread. Not only that, doubling down, tripling down. He was not caught on camera telling people to go in. I'm sorry, did you not double click?
We need to go into the Capitol.
Did you not even click on the video to which you're quote tweeting? Once Tucker and other nuts, you're going to call Tucker and other people nuts? Ann Coulter, what can explain it? Well, we found out what can explain it now. Hold on, let me bring it here. We can find out exactly what explains it, and it's very, very disappointing. Because there's a way to support the candidate of your choice with integrity and honesty, and there's a way of doing it in a way that will actually, invariably, end up reflecting poorly on the candidate of your choice. I suspect Ann Coulter might hate Vivek Ramaswamy. Not quite sure why. One can hypothesize, and I won't. Clearly, she doesn't like him. But what's also clear right now, and Coulter, only DeSantis will stop. So it's not, that explains all of it. It explains all of it. Hold on, I want to give you. And Coulter now is supporting DeSantis. And that's fair game. DeSantis has been a great governor. Better than most? I don't know. Not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Can't hold them to imperfect or idealistic standards. Governor has been a great governor and better than most. And it's understandable that people would want to support him. But now it makes sense why Ann Coulter is coming out spewing January 6th lines, spewing MSM talking points to legitimize the insurrection narrative, to legitimize the persecution of Trump supporters, of January 6th, because it's politically profitable for DeSantis. And that led me into a bit of a fight with DeSantis supporters online. It's an amazing thing. I support. In my view, I like Vivek Ramaswamy a lot. In my view, whether you support Trump or not, you have to support Trump. Because if they succeed at doing what they're trying to do to Trump, even if it results in a DeSantis presidency, they will have learned the wrong lessons, and everyone will be a victim to this in the future. 4 years from now, they'll indict you on human trafficking charges for the Nantucket. No, what's Martha's Vineyard, Florida. 4 years down the line, play ball, or once you get out of office, they're going to indict you for bullshit charges. Hush money, please. Oh yeah, DeSantis doesn't know much about paying hush money. He might learn something about human trafficking if he doesn't play ball. So I say this: I like DeSantis, and I understand people want to support DeSantis. But even if you don't want to support Trump, you have to, because if they succeed in this, like they did with Alex Jones, deplatforming him from social media, denying him any form of a meaningful trial. If they succeed against Alex Jones, and they did, they'll do it over and over and lawfare against Trump. Against weaponizing January 6th, the Lee-hop, made it happen, let it happen, whatever you want to call it, the Fedsurrection, facilitating or outright fabricating these events so they can weaponize it, persecute citizenry, basically outlaw protests. When Joe Biden got a crimson speech the other day, we got over 840 years prison for the protesters. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a good thing? They do it against Trump. They've done it against the January 6th, and if you tacitly endorse that, or passively endorse that, or overtly try to legitimize it, and they don't come after you in the future, that's only because you're playing ball with them. That, and I don't know what the deal is with DeSantis supporters on social media. Maybe I'm just not seeing it as much from the Trump side. Maybe I'm more forgiving. I don't think so. I'm pretty critical. People reflexively jump to the Laura Loomer as though she embodies or represents Trumpism. There's a lot of conservatives, a lot of Trump supporters who don't like Laura Loomer. They're quite vocal. I mean, even I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I don't think Robert Barnes gets along with Laura Loomer. When Laura Loomer came out with the tweet about that car exploding at the Canadian border, heading for the Macy's in New York City, this is an invasion. Yeah, who the hell's defending that disinformation? I don't think. I notice a lot more people on the conservative side railing against Laura Loomer, even if they are Trump supporters. I don't know that Laura Loomer defines the Trump movement or the Trump base. I don't think it does, but what do I know? But my goodness, excuse me, the DeSantis supporters on Twitter, petty, and disinformation. I'll get into one of it afterwards, because I'm curious if I'm being too forgiving on Roger Stone, where a DeSantis supporter said, when you criticize Roger Stone for calling Casey DeSantis a C-U-N-T, quote, a C-U-N-T, then I'll listen to him. I'm like, holy crap, Roger Stone called Casey DeSantis the C-word? That's terrible. And I Googled it. And it doesn't, there seems to be a material distinction that I find to be a material distinction in that Roger Stone didn't use the word that people are saying he said. He retweeted, "See you next Tuesday," which everybody knows colloquially what it means and probably what he meant and is totally rude. But to quote someone as having said a word that they didn't actually say, yeah, if I say F off and someone quotes me as having said fuck off, I'll have a problem with that. I have no problem saying fuck off. I'm going to say fuck off. When we get into the story now, it's going to make you rage.
Apparently, you're
rage.
Higher intelligence.
Okay, let's do this. I only have 12 minutes to really. I used the word Nazis. I didn't use the. I was going to say I didn't use the N word. It was going to get me in trouble. If this does not enrage you, you're a fascist. Like, I'm gonna just straight up, I'll say it. If this does not make you angry, you are a filthy fascist. If this does not enrage you, you are a tyrant, you are a bootlicker, and you will tolerate atrocities. If this does not enrage you, you are one of the people who said, oh, I don't know where my neighbor went, but my goodness, I like their property. Hold on. Breaking. I want to make sure I get the Rebel News one. I don't look. I don't know what I don't know what sway I carry in the social media world. I mean, the word influencer is a pretentious, stupid word. In as much as I have a bigger bullhorn, just because time, effort, consistency. In as much as I have a bigger bullhorn, I messaged Ezra and I said, I'm gonna put, as big as my bullhorn is, I'm gonna turn it up to 11, because this is the most enraging thing you will see all day. And look, I don't give a sweet bugger all what you think about Rebel News. You can think Rebel News are the scum of the earth. If you look at this and say, well, I'm going to tolerate that for the people who I think are the scum of the earth, congratulations. You are the one who would not say anything while your neighbors are getting whisked off in carts.
Oh, it's crazy.
Like Gestapo agents. Look at this. It's so egregious. I watch it. I'm like, no, this has to be fake. This cannot be real. First of all, there's Krista Freeland in the background. It's in here to like, she looks a lot like Hillary Clinton. And I don't know if that's just because I love her, or as you sell your soul, you end up looking like the same morphed former human being. Like, the funny thing is, this is not even a gender or sex thing. I find Hillary Clinton looks like George Soros. I think it's just the thing is, once you sell your soul, you become like a demon.
And how come the IRGC is not a terrorist group? Why is your government supporting Islamo-Nazis?
I'm on mute, sorry. The IRGC is the Iranian regime. I'll get the exact thing about it. This is for those of you who don't know David Menzies. This is David Menzies. He's a reporter at Rebel News. I don't care if you don't like Rebel News, and if you want to, they're not real journalists, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to swear a lot for you.
Yeah.
If you're one of the arrogant pricks out there who says
they do very good work, they do very good work.
You're going to tell me what
no other fucking news station's doing.
You can call them propagandists. You can call them activist journalists.
Oh,
but you're going to tell me that a man on the street asking questions to politicians is not a journalist? Go to the fiery pits of hell.
Freeland, how come the IRGC is not a terrorist group? Why is your government supporting Islamo-Nazis?
Stop. We got to get this. Hold on a second. Google IRGC. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard. Okay, that's what the IRGC is. So yeah, it's a fair question. I mean, Justin Trudeau declared the Proud Boys. Do you guys know that? You do know that, right? Canada declares Proud Boys terrorists. Here we go. Here we go. Let me just. We'll come back to this in a second. I mean, you have to know this unless you're new to the channel. AP designates the Proud Boys as a terrorist entity. Why might they do that? When did they do that? That's the first question. By the way, this is going to loop us into the first story. When did they do that? February 2021. What happened in January 2021? You're going to tell me there's not international collusion to manufacture that bullshit insurrection story? It was in February 2021, barely 1 month after January 6th. The Canadian government declares the Proud Boys a terrorist organization, a terrorist entity. Oh, that's convenient. That might give some credence to Biden's America to declare them terrorist organizations. In Canada, it facilitates seizure of assets without as much due process. Just a coincidence. Just a coincidence. Listen to this. So why are you not declaring the IRGC a terrorist?
Supporting Islamo-Nazis. What are you doing?
You might not even know what you just saw. You might not even know what you just saw. Look at this guy is a plain-clothed nobody, not a security for Krista Freeland, because he's not walking with her. He's walking in the opposite direction. And then look, oh, he doesn't quite make the shoulder contact. He puts out his hand right there. Right there. Oh, that's assault on a police officer. If you...
What are you doing?
You're under arrest for assault. First of all, I don't like making fun of the way people look, and I'm not making fun of him. This guy just looks like a bigger version of Dr. Evil's mini-me. I mean, he looks evil. I'm waiting till you get a real good close-up look at his eyes.
You're under arrest for assault.
You're under arrest for assault.
You're under arrest for assault. Sir, are you supposed to be? You're under arrest for assault. You're under arrest for assault.
Oh, they're happy. They're very happy. Police. You're under arrest for assault. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you in uniform? Dr. Evil? No, you're not. You pushed it. Is there anything on this plainclothes man that indicates that he's police?
I was just scrubbing. I got my credentials here, and you just bumped into me. So excuse me. You're under arrest. In your bag.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm fairly certain I just heard David Menzies asking for your name and badge number. I'm not answering that. Look at this guy's face.
Oh, wow.
Hitler's willing executioners. Gestapo. The banality of evil. This is what it looks like. I'm just doing my job. I want to know who gave him the orders.
You're under arrest. What is your name in your bag?
I've heard your question. Disregarded. Nazi soldiers don't give their names and badge number. Are you crazy, Mr. Menzies?
In your bag, you've been told you're under arrest.
You've been told you're under arrest.
Am I under arrest?
Yeah, like I can walk up to anybody and be like, "Hey, you're under arrest," because like it's citizen arrest. Like I could just do that to anybody.
It's amazing. Oh, Menzies in the backdrop. Okay, hold on. I'm not going to go. I'll play this out, and then I'll rail against this a little more after.
I was just swimming. Christian Freeman. I'm a police officer.
I'm a police officer. Oh, okay. Name and badge number. Where's your uniform? You touched me.
Under arrest. What is your name and your badge number?
Assaulting a police officer. How is that
you
possible?
assaulted me 3 years ago. All
right. I thought someone was in the corner here looking at this.
You mean I was asking questions aggressively? No, you're asking.
No, you're acting.
Oh. Lincoln, you got this on video, right? He's saying I'm pushing people.
Thank the sweet Lord. Lincoln got that. It's Lincoln J who got that on video. Thank goodness. Can you imagine how many times they've done this when they haven't gotten it on video? Oh, I'm sure they don't weaponize this. You know, we don't talk about racial.
During
curfew. How many people?
He went up to
Justin
Trudeau. Well,
have they done this?
Everybody was fucking had to be at home.
That's an absolute falsehood.
Justin Trudeau was at a dinner
Look at this guy.
at a restaurant.
That was a little bit aggressive for what was happening. Get that. You're under arrest.
Oh, get that mic on my face.
Well, I'd like an ongoing record of your arrest. Can I have the microphone?
I always say that. Audacity, the courage of this guy. Okay, I'm not wasting any more of his time. I see him in the backdrop. David, let me see. I'm gonna bring you in. Hold on. Stop.
Seriously? Oh my
Sir, how goes the battle?
Well, first of all, Mr. Fry, I hope you had a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. And wow, 2024 is really off on the right foot.
David, look, I've been watching you for a long time. People can call you all sorts of names, but my goodness, do you have balls? I mean, I hate to use the crass expression. You have audacity where, I mean, to just continue going in that. Okay, first of all,
What's this job?
How are you doing?
It's his career.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm kind of like my Timex watch takes a licking and keeps on ticking. And, you know, it's funny. I really appreciate the comments about my testicular fortitude and how I get out into the field. But, you know, Viva, when you think about it,
I'm getting arrested.
I'm not doing anything extra
threw
special.
him up. Like
What
three
the
guys
mainstream
grabbed
media
him,
used to do.
turned around,
And that is
threw him up against
scrum
the
cabinet
wall. And they were like,
ministers
"Stop
ask
resisting!" He's like, "What the
I mean,
fuck?
this was surreal what
I'm
happened
not
yesterday.
resisting. What the
We
fuck
never
just
thought this
happened?"
was going to go
And
we were
confused as to what
there,
was
and by the
happening.
way,
And
we
he
didn't know in
literally just
advance.
was
We only
walking
found
up
out
to
once we
Justin
got on
Trudeau to
site
ask him,
about
like, hey,
an
why
hour
are
and a
you out
quarter
at a
before the
restaurant
actual
during curfew when
vigil
all of us would be
began.
locked
This is
inside?
the,
Like,
ceremony.
you guys have like special
or
business
a
to attend
remembrance
to, but
event
like,
for
why
the
do you have
fourth
to go to a
anniversary of the
restaurant
Ukrainian
to do
Airlines
that
flight
when
that
it's
shot
mandatory
down
for us to be fucking at home, or we'll
179
get
innocent
fucking
civilians
tickets and
killed.
we'll get arrested.
That
Like,
includes
ridiculous.
55 Canadians, one unborn child. I want to put that out. The left won't put that in the official death toll, but I think that is a homicide as well. And what we wanted to do is find out if the people, there'll be people from all political stripes of all levels, because I was at the first commemoration 4 years ago. I wanted to see if Richmond Hill MP Majid Johari would dare show his despicable face at this event, because Richmond Hill, I lived there, Aviva, in case you didn't know, been there for 25 years. I love the Persian community. I have Persian friends. I patronize Persian businesses and restaurants. Everyone I've met in the Persian community of Richmond Hill have been people fleeing the regime. They want freedom. They want to get away from the mullahs that have been ruling that joint since the 1979 revolution, with the exception of one person, and that is Liberal MP Majid Johari. He supports the regime. He has had secret meetings with Iranian government officials in Canada. It's unbelievable. We have reported this. Did Majid Johari show up, but Chrystia Freeland and even Blackface himself, the utter chutzpah, Viva, because we're talking about mass murder that happened 4 years ago, and Blackface gets up there and he says, yeah, you know what, we're going to look at putting the IRGC on the terror list. Look at it. I mean, for goodness sakes, Donald Trump did this, and to his credit, it must be a blue moon, because I'm going to give a shout out to President Joe Biden. He didn't take them off the terror list. But meanwhile, we've had all these dozens and dozens of Canadians massacred. Blackface 4 years later is still going, we're going to try to find a way. Find a way. You are a propped up majority government, in effect. You can do it tomorrow if you wanted to. I think the timing is suspect. I think we're heading into an election either this year or next. And this is the blackface liberals trying to curry favor with the Persian community. But that's one story. The other story is when we saw Fraulein Freeland walking into the venue, I couldn't resist asking her that question. The question that the mainstream media should be and isn't asking: how in blue hell is the IRGC not on a terror list? And they're propped up just like Hamas, just like Hezbollah, by the Islamo-fascist regime in Iran. And well, you saw what happened. I think, as they say over in the UK, Viva, that was a stitch-up. That officer saw me coming, and I sure didn't see him coming. I'll tell you, I swear to God, I felt him before I saw him, which is to say, my focus was on Freeland, and then boom, I bump into somebody, or he bumped into me. And as the video shows, he threw his arm out. And I think this is a despicable assault, not just on David Menzies of Rebel News, but on freedom of the press, my friend.
Before we even get there, going all the way back to the airline that was shot down, I mean, I remember, and unless I'm misremembering, everybody understood what had happened. It was shot down. They thought it was, they mistook the commercial airliner for a military airliner. And if I recall correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you remember, was it not the fact that Trudeau was still referring to it as a crash and not what many people believe was a terrorist incident?
100%. That is no crash. When you are shot out of the sky by a missile, it's a terrorist attack. There's no other way to describe this. This happened, I believe it was 5 days after Soleimani was thankfully assassinated. And this was, I think, and people in the Persian community that I speak to that are anti-regime, they think this was the regime sending a message that it was a deliberate attack. It is that, And you are quite right. I've seen
Why did you take it?
a crash that went.
I know. I'm looking at things. I also think that we're incorporating this terrorist attack in airline safety. The Canadian Airline Safety Day.
One. Okay, that's fine. As long as I swear to God, ask me to snore one more time. Serious face.
I don't know how you
Real
can
talk.
say
Right about now.
an airliner when there's a,
Ask me to do something one more fucking time. Because, sir, you need fucking help with your brain.
Like Wonder Woman, you know, the invisible planes and nobody can see it. You know, maybe that's but that's preposterous.
So you see, you know, like rolling on you see you squirming. I don't like the word because it's running where there is contact. It's a form where you go up to the surface, walk on the street, and you actually
I'm assuming it is. I actually don't give a shit about how many people watch my shit. I really, really don't.
Like, you know who needs it?
Not yet, Viva, and I gotta tell you, for me, this was a sense of deja vu. In December 2021,
Yeah.
My ace cameraman and I, that would be Lincoln J, we were outside a downtown early December.
Everyone was still in
there. We knew the Prime Minister was
curfew.
coming there because it was
Because everyone has fucking amnesia. No one talks about the fact that Quebec had a 5-month long curfew.
Sucker born every minute.
Shit
But
you
the
not.
focus was this. Before that event, in which people were packed in like sardines, including the mainstream.
He was going out to the fucker restaurant. Yeah. Well, he had a business meeting. It's like, hey, well,
the Prime Minister stated, you know, for Christmas time, this is Christmas 2021, please don't get together with your family and friends.
no, there were people who that were gathering for Christmas, and they were hiding in the dark in their house. Because the cops showed up. Because then they were like, oh, if you see your neighbors having a party, call the cops on them. And they did. Fucking terrible, though. Like, honestly, burn my fucking neighbor's house to the ground.
Here we are. So this is me on a public sidewalk. The motorcade comes along. They know who I am.
Yeah, you'd like to see that. I wouldn't like to see that. He says you get hit by a car. You'd like to see that. Because people, like, I'm going to bring up the other journalist getting assaulted afterwards. This is you. How this is a year ago?
December 2021.
Like the first year of.
And another example.
Oh no, year after COVID started. Oh, it's hilarious. They literally grab him and put him against the wall, and they're like, "Stop resisting!"
All right, we'll stop there, but that is that's the issue.
Indeed. And Viva, it's a private restaurant having a private event. We're not going to storm that. They have every right to cherry pick who they let in and who they keep out. But I was on a sidewalk.
Yeah.
And they know who I am. They see the Rebel News mic flash.
Yeah.
They know I am no threat to the Prime Minister whatsoever. But his Royal Canadian Mounted Henchmen, without identifying who they are, without wearing a badge, anything, grab me. And if your viewers do go and take a look at that video, they smashed my head off a wooden fence, and they physically assaulted me.
Yeah.
For what?
Who actually wasn't doing anything. Like, I hate him. I really don't like this guy. He's kind of a weenie boy bitch. He's very much an instigator. Like,
and yet here you have this jam-packed fundraiser. And I was expecting,
like, as much as I fucking hate cops, I don't have any intention of, like, fucking going into a full-on sprint because a cop rolled up just so that they fucking waste time fucking chasing me. Like,
look what happened yesterday. Deja vu all over again. This is
they mind their fucking business. I mind mine. Like, they do what they want. I do what I want. We could live fine. Like, we don't bother each other.
But it doesn't look like they learned their lesson. leaving journalists alone on a public sidewalk.
So you are in fact tuning in for that incident in
Good.
December 2021.
Yeah.
So we are now January.
Like, my favorite is when cops grab somebody from behind and then they're like, stop resisting. It's just like, yeah, but you kind of just like, it's kind of like a normal instinctual reaction to turn around and be like, who the fuck is grabbing me? Like,
I thought he missed the shoulder, then came up with the hand.
It's hard to say because, as I said, my focus was on Freeland, and I felt him before I saw him. But when I looked at the video, Viva, it looks like he's doing, as they say, wrestling a clothesline. He's sticking his arm out, and I think the video.
No, he was clearly going to grab him.
To tell you the truth, and we're looking for other videos because there were other people.
I noticed a bunch of people with their cameras after this.
100%, and there's closed circuit TV, the security TV for the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts. I'm sure as part of our litigation, we'll be reaching out to get that as evidence. But in no way did I intentionally even brush this officer.
no, he approached you and put his arm out to grab you and then said that you pushed him and that he's under arrest.
What do they call it in hockey? Incidental contact, I guess. For him to go, on full red alert, you're assaulting a police officer.
Yeah, that absolutely did not happen.
One hand has the microphone.
Yeah, how's he supposed to assault him?
It's not in the shape of a fist. I'm not pushing anyone. It was an outrageous.
Yeah, it is
so
very
outrageous that
ridiculous.
When I was
Like,
handcuffed in the police cruiser, and they were about to take me down to the station to throw me into the cooler. They did a detour and said, and it was kind of like catching the police. First, they drove me to the back of a school that had been dismissed. And at first I thought, I know Richmond Hill well. I go, this is nowhere near the police station. Geez, I'm not on the Cherry Beach Express. I'm not gonna be.
I've never been in cuffs before. I've never had the way the guy, assuming he's a real cop, the way he, they're going for hand control. I see him with your hand on your wrist, controlling your wrist. Just to be manhandled like that is already the stuff of some people's nightmares. But you're cuffed, you're in the back of a cruiser. What do you think they're doing with you? Like, you have no idea they're taking you out to a back alley that's going to be able to kiss you.
let's go through some garbage makeup.
Regional police.
This is all makeup from the garbage.
I think they were good guys. Just following orders, as the saying goes, I suppose. But it's very uncomfortable. They gave me one concession, which is originally they had my arms handcuffed behind me, and I said, "Oh, please, I'm not gonna run. I'm not gonna
Body
do
lotion, Capri,
You handcuff me in the front because
mint conditioner,
and if I contour into that tiny area,
body milk.
It potentially might injure me, and the
And
acquiescence
it's
to their
in.
credit.
I don't
But
even know
yeah,
what
when they
language
drove me to
that is.
the back of a school,
Course.
I'm thinking, oh no, am I going to get the Cherry Beach treatment? But no, it was just they were they got a call.
I don't even know what
and,
lights are for what.
It was that the Mountie was not going to press charges, so they let me go. And I think on sober second thought, he thought, oh my gosh, there were so many people ringside filming this. It's on closed circuit TV. We have video. This is already a disaster. So he was already backtracking on this
science
assault.
What the following are con science.
You have the York Regional Police, the YRP. Did they put out a statement about this?
Not to my knowledge. That's a good question. I should.
Formulated by women?
So I'll check into that because I know I get some DMs and I.
The fuck?
That I don't disclose to the public.
The fuck?
So the York Regional Police, but what jurisdiction was
Safety, 500 times efficiency and safety
Allegedly, I
tests
still don't
per
know
formula.
his name nor his badge
Clean
number.
formulas, support,
And I was under the understanding
1,000+
this
organic
happened, by the way,
farmers,
back in
okay.
December 2021.
cool,
we got that.
eco-friendly,
I was under the
manufacturing,
understanding that when you're under arrest,
recyclable,
when,
made in
people come
Greece.
up to
It's
the site,
Greek.
it's like,
That's why I had no fucking clue what it is. Body milk.
This guy. Name and badge
Weird
number,
thing
and
to call
No, he looks crazy. He looks crazy too.
I know, and you saw
Figs
how trumped up
and
this
Sons.
was. I think this was a frame job.
CW
Going back to 2021, I can't prove
Energy
this.
Face Wash.
this
That
is what
smells
I
really
think.
good. It smells like a
Blackface
bottle.
saw me standing on the
Moisturizer.
side.
Oh, cool.
Recognized. Well, he knows who we
Fight
are.
on Nick.
As I said, the Rebel News by Black.
Jack.
That's the identifier.
What? Jack
that is a
Black?
giveaway too. And Viva, I honestly think the Prime Minister said to his Royal Canadian Mounted Thugs, "Boys, give them the works." Because I can't see
Not for individual retail
mounting
sales.
a security detail for the Prime Minister unilaterally jumping out of their SUVs and roughing me up. Because first of all, it's illegal. Why would they do that? The Prime Minister ordering him to do that. I don't know what happened with Freeland.
Paris. Base
I think maybe this guy was acting on his own
beauty
accord.
cream.
And he might have been one of the
Pollution.
Mounties, by the way, on the security detail back in 2021. I'm not sure, Viva. But in no way would I ever touch a hair on her chinny chin chin. Freeland.
It goes without saying. It's not
Oh,
like
God.
you know for
I
being
hate her.
abrasive.
Cooling shower gel. This is
It goes
men's
without saying.
stuff.
The issue is,
Rituals.
imagine there had been no
Cool
cameras,
name.
but when they're doing this to a reporter, unless they're banking on your camera and not recording the time, it's also just tactically outrageously stupid to do it to someone who's recording the whole thing. But depending on the angle, you miss that one angle, and then they say, well, you have no evidence to disprove the assault. How many times have they done to other people and gotten away with it when there were no cameras?
That's a great point. And in all fairness, Viva, if I been an individual wearing a ski mask, in camouflage, and I had some kind of foreign object in my hand, oh yeah, I could see the police intervening, but they know I'm not going to harm anyone unless maybe in Canada today, Viva, impolite and insensitive questions are considered weaponized things, and you have to be put away because you're just not part of our little blackface polite society.
Do you know who the woman that was with Mr. Freeland is?
I do not know. I'm assuming probably one of her staffers.
Because they both look very happy as it was happening. Like, I'm not trying to project too much. I'm not trying to read into their faces. They look very, very satisfied.
Well, Freeland always has this cat that swallowed the canary.
No, the way
smile.
she talks. Oh.
I guess she can.
I don't think she actually fucking realizes that when she talks to people.
Getting enjoyment out of this.
Yeah, she's a fucking sadist.
Especially since Viva, in a previous life, Fraulein Freeland was a journalist herself.
Really?
Doesn't she have some
Was not aware.
for the rank and file practicing journalism out there? Well, I guess not when it comes to the independent media. No, she doesn't.
I thought you were going to say in a previous life she was a Nazi working herself. So now, from what I understand,
Odyssey?
you guys are, say you, Rebel News, whoever filed for the suit, you're definitely suing the police.
100%. My boss, Ezra Levant, was in touch with a absolutely fantastic lawyer in Calgary, Sarah Miller. We're going to be putting together a lawsuit. I believe it's based on 4 separate charges. And I believe we're going after the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, of course, York Regional Police, and perhaps even Fraulein Freeland herself. But we have to, Viva, because this is so offside. This is what happens in banana republics when it comes to journalism. Actually, I take that back. We can't grow bananas in Canada. Let's call ourselves a maple syrup republic, okay? But we have to take a stance with this because it is so egregious and outrageous that it can't be tolerated, my friend.
Curious.
Anyway, it's over the top, and what blows my mind, and I'm going to get to these when we're done, is some of the response.
$65.
Saying, oh, look, yeah,
this bottle is $60.
As if to say, even if one thinks that you're not a news outlet,
Holy
this is
shit.
somehow justifiable or tolerable in a free democratic society. It was so over the top, but once it catches Elon Musk's attention on Twitter, it's gone supernova. So it's gotten as much attention as more in the days that are coming.
And Viva, if I may say, that's a very good observation. We see this from our haters and those in the mainstream media that don't like us.
What?
Because of putting news in quotes, like as though we're, I don't know, cosplay performers. I mean, the audacity. The CBC was ever thus funded by over $1 billion a year. But now all the mainstream media outlets, they're getting their payola from Sugar Daddy Blackface. And I can tell you, back when I went to journalism school at Ryerson, or whatever the hell they call it now, for 3 years, even those professors who were left of center, which even back then was the majority, if they were still alive today and see what's happening in terms of Canadian journalism,
Shut the front door.
funded by the federal government, they would be
$60.
sickened to their core. It is an outrageous conflict of interest. I mean, the entity you're supposed to be covering and scrutinizing is paying your bills. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Paying them directly, indirectly, and now with this Google link tax, even more surreptitiously indirectly. So people know this, and they really watch the channel. $1.2 billion funding for the CBC hydropower from the federal government. True, it's whatever government's in power, except one wants to defund it, the other one wants to increase its funding. $600 million bailout for print media back in 2018. I don't know how many millions everybody got bailouts for COVID ads, government ads during COVID.
Oh yeah.
And now with the government link tax, what's his name? Pablo Rodriguez about to announce that Google's going to pay $100 million to not accredited, but rather whatever media is deemed appropriate to receive these funds from Google. They buy off the media, and then you got the hacks besmirching your journalism capacity, which is bullshit to begin with. But then it's to suggest, yeah, well, they're not journalists, so let's lock them up and let's beat the shit out of them. It's the banality of evil. Yeah, there's no other way to explain it.
I think you're right, Viva. And you know, it's funny, our haters out there, they're always quick to say, oh, there goes Rebel News begging for money again. Well, wait a minute. I think that is the most honest way to fundraise that there is. If you like what you see and you have a few extra bucks and you want to donate, do it. If you don't, almost all of our content, aside from that behind the paywall, is free to you. How is that shameful compared to what mainstream media outlets are doing, which is sucking from the taxpayer teeth? They're taking it right out of your bank account. Well, assuming it's not frozen, that is, every 2 weeks, right? So you think you're on the high road because that's your business plan? These people are delusional, people.
You're going to continue doing what you do.
Oh yes. Well, what else would I do? I'm. People say, "Why'd you get into journalism, Dave?" And I go, "I'm completely incompetent in every other facet of life." I go into Home Depot. It gives me stress. I see
$87
buying lumber and
thing is $90.
They're going to build a tree house, and I can't do that. So
you're good at what you do. I know the critiques that you feel like, oh, now they're raising money. They want to raise funds to file this lawsuit. You're goddamn right. Nobody's going to do it. And then look what happens. You're losing, and I say you, us, all of us, are losing all of our rights in real time. Nobody tests it. Nobody wants to get arrested. Nobody wants to sue when they get arrested. And then they want to criticize people for crowdfunding so they can file a suit against the government. What ended up happening, if you don't remember offhand, Ezra, the election interference, because he published his book around the time of the election, what ended up happening with that?
Yes, Ezra has to pay a fine. Don't quote me. It's several $1,000s. Let's just say that. In a year that there was an election. By the way, 23 other books written about blackface. Favorable. I can't even believe I'm saying this. It's so shocking. But the one book that painted blackface in a dim light, we're going to go after them. This is somehow, I don't know, electoral interference. Please ignore the members from Beijing in the back room, guys. It will have to appeal that. I think we will appeal. I think this has to go to the Supreme Court because at the very least, if you're fining Ezra for his Lobranos book, then why aren't you fining the other 23 people? Or is it that blatant? Yes, you can write a book during an election campaign or publish it during an election campaign, but it's got to be positive to the prime minister. This is astonishing.
It's astonishing, and it's the Alex Jones type treatment where they go at, well, first of all, they use their resources to demonize Rebel News so that the smooth brains out there are okay with it. Well, it says, we don't care, it'll never happen to me, and then lo and behold, it's happening to all of us. But then there's nobody left to say anything about it. What else? So, well, the other question was this. It was about the actual substantive question to them. Oh, never mind. I've lost track of it. What are you working on now?
Well, you know what? We are somehow this has become a unofficial feat of mine. We call it transanity. All these fake gender bender grifters, males that can't compete with other males, suddenly identifying as a woman, even though they still have their junk attached. They haven't gone through a hormone therapy, anything like that. They're not even wearing a wig. I've talked about the rugby player Tommy Ash Davis, who competes against female rugby players and injures them. I'm talking about Nicholas De Cepeda, the 50-year-old man who identifies as a 13-year-old girl in order to swim. Oh, and change and shower with 13-year-old girls as well. So I never thought, especially with me being a big Andy Dice Clay fan, that I would be the forefront of the Canadian feminist movement, because the feminists have checked out on this issue. They either think transgender is two-third rail for them, Viva, or they actually believe this rubbish, that trans woman, a real woman, which is to say, a guy saying he's a chick, is completely kosher. So we are continuing that because the authorities in the sports, whether it's rugby, whether it's powerlifting, and I urge your viewers to look. We have for April Hutchinson, a biological woman who is being suspended by the powerlifting association because she had the temerity to speak out against a man who identifies as a woman, and by the way, is smashing all the female records. Funny that, you know what else is funny? You never see it the other way. You never see someone identifying as a man and going into male sports and even making the team, much less become the dominant figure. So
I'm trying to think. I had it reversed for one example where they had a poker player claiming to be a woman who was participating in a women's poker team. So the women didn't like that very much. This is the campaign, correct? April Hutchinson.
That's right. Stand with April. That's April Hutchinson, a powerlifter who is being canceled by her own sport. She was part of an exhibit at Museum London. It was an exhibit, it's still on Viva, and it was about London area people that had endured really bad situations in their life and turned it around. And that would be April. Once upon a time, April, she wasn't a champion powerlifter. She was an alcoholic and suicidal.
Oh, wow.
And she got into powerlifting around. And the woke mob at Museum London, they learned about her speaking out against men infiltrating their sport and wiping the floor clean when it came to the female competitors. And guess what? Her exhibit was taken down and she was told you are persona non grata. It is absolute. So we're still following Nicholas Cepeda. I believe the next event he's at is in Aurelia on the weekend of January 19th to 21st. And I just wonder if this grifter will have the chutzpah to show up yet again pretending to be a 13-year-old. I gotta tell your audience this, Viva. He is a York University professor in the psychology department, and get a load of this. Two of his specialties, children and youth. Yikes!
I got well, I'll say I think psychiatrists in general are crazy people in business, as are lawyers and all type A personalities. That's got 3 strikes against it, and I have some thoughts, questions I would ask this individual. Whatever happened with the prosthetic boob person, the workshop?
That would be Busty Lemieux. And he is now at a Hamilton school, and it's one of the greatest unsolved questions of that saga. When he was carrying out the charade with those giant Z-cut breasts, the only on-the-record interview he ever gave was to the New York Post, in which he said, Viva, people say, why are you wearing these prosthetics? But they're not. They're actual real memory glands. You see, I've got a very rare medical condition. Oh, I'll say 1 in 8 billion. Never mind. I have a very rare medical condition, and at 38, I started to develop. And then we caught him red-handed. It was the day before Good Friday at a Burlington mall. And he was breastless. And never in my career as a journalist did I ever imagine I was going to ask the question, Mr. Lemieux, where are your breasts? Right? But he has been mollycoddled and protected by the school board,
Molten brown,
because he's at a different region now, and the teachers' unions. Even though I would argue that you on the record said you couldn't do anything about this, that this was a medical issue. To me, Viva, that's like lying about a handicap, right? In order, I don't know, to park in the handicap spot. To me, this is something where he should be fired with cause. You lied to your employer. But no, because it's allegedly in the Transanity file, these people are special. They have to be mollycoddled. We can't do anything because to be called a transphobe, that might be almost as bad as being called an Islamophobe, maybe even worse these days. So this guy is now at a Hamilton school. I believe he's currently identifying as a male, and maybe he's taken off those props, or he had breast reduction surgery. Who knows? And yeah, life goes on. But we'll be on that file too. And it was absolutely so shameful how the school boards, the union, and even the invisible man at Queen's Park, the Minister of Education, was absolutely silent on this file. We'll try to scrum him again, and just to see what he looks like in the new year, if we can track him down.
So don't get even more. Once we're done, I'm going to go over the other incidents involving Andrea Humphrey, Alexa Lavoie, yourself. I'm going to go over the other incidents because it's not the first time a journalist in Revolution has been assaulted. But Dave, hold on. Before we leave, I want to bring up a few here. Thank you, David, for interviewing David Menzies. The PM blackface attacks on David and Rebel report is 1933.
Yeah, thank you. And it has that whiff to it, doesn't it?
It's what? How much different would it be? Like if people don't like the Nazi,
You're a fucking
Soviet Russia. Knock on the door. You're coming with us. This man detained you for no reason. He was not a uniformed officer. There was no anything. I wouldn't feel safe for a minute being cuffed in the back.
You were very much grinding my ears.
So that they wouldn't hurt your arms. It's outrageous. And the fact that and then they release you with no charges. Sorry, how does that work? They take you to the police station. How long are you there for? And then how do they say goodbye? Have a nice day.
Oh, that's the thing. En route to the police station, they did a U-turn and took me to the back of that school. But I'll leave you with this, Viva, because the big boss man himself, Ezra Levent, is coming into the studio, and I got to appear on his show. I could understand if I was treated this way, say, in communist China. But then again, let's never forget that some 11 years ago in Toronto, Justin Trudeau, before he became prime minister, said he had admiration for the basic dictatorship of China in terms of how it gets things done. So maybe that is the answer to this mystery of why independent journalists are getting abused by his henchmen. He likes the idea.
Not even close to the picture that I just took.
People he admires in the communist Chinese regime. And
I don't get it.
Well, actions speak louder than words, don't it, my friend?
Well, first of all, may this be amplified to the tops of mountains. David, thank you for everything you're doing. What your handle on Twitter before we go? Where can people find you?
I guess it would be at the Menzoid, and if your viewers want to see our videos, rebelnews.com. We have a YouTube channel. We're on all the other platforms. And I wish you and all your viewers, Viva, a very happy New Year.
Thank you, Grant. I would say stay out of trouble, but that's not going to happen. Just stay safe when you get in trouble. Thank you very much for coming on. It's been fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
All right, have a good day. That's amazing, people. Oh my goodness, we're going to go over to Rumble. We went for a little longer on YouTube.
You are fucking making me so
On
irritated.
YouTube and come over to Rumble before I do
You're
that. I want
so
to
garbage.
Looks like it was a setup to intimidate Rebel News. Absolutely. It's a no-brainer. Hold on. Look up. Hold it. Excuse me. I'll tell you a funny story. Remind me for the locals after party. I embarrassed myself this morning. Qualified immunity allows towns and following stormtroopers and QI as it is today. I agree.
It's
Well, you don't
fucking
want to.
annoying.
If you end qualified immunity, people are going to be afraid to become politicians if they're going to be able to be sued for the consequences of their actions. Anyhow, it needs to be revamped. I understand the argument both ways. It needs to be revamped. There's no license to be a journalist in America. There's no license to be a journalist anywhere, but accredited does allow you access to certain locations if you don't get accreditation. You're not allowed behind certain mounted ropes. Okay, we got here. Viva Fly, you are my favorite long-haired hippie. Is Canada like the old croissant left on a counter? Canada has become like with management that refuses to get rid of it. I'm being glib, but Canada is going dark places. I say the only silver lining is that video. Oh, did I go crazy with that yesterday? That video is getting some serious traction. All right, everybody, if you are so inclined, I should not. Oh, go here. Get your butts on over to Rumble. Someone I noticed in the chat said, as a religious person, Vivas, try not to use the Lord's name in vain. I do my best. Even as I'm not a non-believer, I'm just not religious. So I will apologize for my transgressions.
Fucking get it, man.
Because nobody's perfect, and I know that I make mistakes. If I made one this morning, I'll tell you on local. Come on over to Rumble. We're going to end this here. Let's see, we're at 2,035. May that number drop. Before you go, drop a thumbs up and drop a comment and hit the thumbs up and mash that thumbs up. If anybody wants to, go and get some merch,
on top of that, it's garbage.
you know where to get merch, people. VivaFry.com. Let's see what's up on the merch thing. We got tumblers. Oh, there we go. We got tumblers. Yes. With all.
Apparently, it's like worth
wonderful
$6.
factors. Distrust and verify.
Fucking
Don't
garbage.
think I like that one. Every fear hides a wish. I might have to actually attribute that one. Fed. Motivation is the master of the reason. Good. Look at that. Okay, go get some. Or even more better than that. More better than most best.
Even more.
Come on over to VivaBondsLaw.locals.com.
Shop
Everyone's
locals.
above average. And I'm going to ask our locals community, am I in the wrong about my take on Roger Stone? See you next Tuesday versus calling a woman the C word. Okay, ending on YouTube now. Rumble, Viva Fry, the Viva Fry Twitter, VivaBondsLaw.locals.com on Rumble, on Locals, and now we're on.
I think it's $40.
Personne ne peut faire vivre le moi comme Andy, parce que le moi, c'est notre raison d'être.
You're the only person on earth that followed Steve Jobs and Elon Musk for years and years. So, what did you learn?
This is going to be a fun ride.
Walter Isaacson,
one of the greatest biography writers ever.
whose work allows all of us to learn from some of the greatest minds in history.
And all the people I've written about who are disruptors, they tend to have had demons driving them. But for Elon Musk, it was particularly brutal. A scrawny kid on the autism spectrum, no friends, beaten up quite often. But the scars from that were minor compared to what happened when he went home. It took traveling around with Elon for 2 years, morning, noon, and night, before I could get him talking up about his problem. And then it started coming out. Everything from his hard wiring to his psychological abuse of his father helped make somebody who's addicted to drama. He was at Twitter headquarters. He decides they should get rid of over a farm. And the engineers say we can't do it, fires them. And then this was Elon forces who went into the server facility with a set of wire cutters and cuts the cable to the server. It drove the teams crazy, but it drove them to do things they didn't think.
Oh, wow.
Listen, there's a good chance somebody's trying to hack your website right now. You've got to make sure you're covered. I'm talking about enterprise-grade security built into your site and fully managed. Check this out. First up, prevention. The Wix platform is secure by design.
The moment you've been waiting for is finally here. Don Lemon is back with a new show. Mr. Lemon posted a note to X sharing the new Don Lemon show will be airing on Twitter soon. The former CNN, the largest free speech platform in the world, and that space for honest debate is needed without the home monitors. And with Don in, some other prominent accusations are out. A purge of the accounts of several major journalists has taken place on Twitter. Those suspended from the app include Stephen Zetti of the Texas Observer, Ken Klippenstein of The Intercept and friend of the show, blogger Rob Rousseau, journalist Max McLeod, and the account for podcast QAnon Pod. Notably, these are all left-leaning or overwhelmingly left-leaning sources that have been very critical of the siege of Gaza of late. One Twitter user called it the night of Elon knives and commented that Twitter seems to be purging leftist accounts. Glenn Greenwald also weighed in, saying multiple other X accounts suspended in the last couple of days, several of them large and influential, including well-known journalists. The one thing they have in common, they've been harshly criticizing Israel since October 7th.
Let's start there and then circle back to the fun stuff. Very concerning, demands obvious explanation. People should not, given what Elon Musk has said about him wanting Twitter X to be a place for free speech and open dialogue, saying that was a major motivation in him buying the platform to correct the censorship problems that he helped expose that were going on relating to election integrity and COVID policies and all of that, all those speech violations that occurred when government actors kind of forced themselves on content moderators that he had set out to correct. This is obviously in tension with that. And must be explained and should be, frankly, corrected unless it seems totally unbelievable that these accounts, all of which have a similar ideological persuasion, actually violated some tangible policy and didn't just tick off Elon for political reasons or whoever the person ultimately making these decisions. It needs explanation and correction.
I mean, look at what we know about Elon Musk. We saw that Elon Musk, after saying some vaguely sympathetic, I wouldn't even say sympathetic to Palestine statements, just kind of practical statements about how unrealistic it is to think that you're going to bomb Hamas or any resistance. He was invited to fly to Israel. He had this big sit down with senior officials there and Benjamin Netanyahu, and came back wearing Israeli dog tags, pledging to make the statement from the river to the sea, or characterizing Israel as a colonial project, disallowed and bannable behavior on the app. Now, this happened. I personally have tweeted along those lines. I've seen other people tweet along those lines and seemingly have not been banned. But these are huge accounts, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of follower accounts that have a great deal of traction, that have been very engaged in the ongoing Twitter meltdown from Bill Ackman, who, of course, as we know, was one of the charge. A big Harvard donor was leading the charge against having Claudine Gay removed from her post as president of the college. All of these people have been very much engaged, specifically because of that debate and because obviously the ongoing siege, in critiques of Israeli foreign policy. And it seems to, I think, be an irreducible conclusion, an unavoidable conclusion, that there's a relationship between the politics of the people who have been canceled and Elon's commitments to align with Israel from a policy perspective.
Well, yeah, sure. And it doesn't matter either way. It seems inappropriate to me unless some actual justification can be. I'm not inclined to believe a justification if one is offered. It might be that these accounts, because there are a lot of accounts, including yours, very critical of Israeli policy. It might be that these people specifically have written articles that were criticizing not just Israel but Elon. Now that's no excuse because he says it's a free speech platform. So he needs to clarify whether that remains the case, and I hope we get some answers soon.
The last thing I want to say on that is, I do think that there is a tendency with Elon Musk for people who support him generally or some aspect of his the Twitter files to not hold him to the standards that he purports to defend. Mm-hmm. And the more he gets away with that, whether it was, remember, Bari Weiss that kicked off the Twitter files project because she consistently said, hey, Elon, you can't ban accounts that are reporting on the Elon death story simply because you feel like that's a negative story about you. So we know that he has acted vindictively in the past. We know that he has acted in a way that is self-protective as opposed to by some general principle. We heard him ruminate about whether or not to bring claims about killing children, and I lost a child.
My least favorite alternative, bringing people back in accordance with the results for the users, that is totally I've defended him. It is difficult to simultaneously run a business that has advertisers and that is monitored by these third-party hate speech checking organizations, and there's also facing all sorts of demands from various governments, including the U.S. government and including governments that do not respect free speech whatsoever. So I think it can be a difficult task, but this is a very clear-cut example.
And also, don't hold yourself out as a free speech platform. You're just a media company that's trying to make money. And it's a good lead back into the top story here, which is that Don Lemon is joining in part because he's averring that Twitter is one of the last spaces of free speech that will allow open dialogue on the internet. He's saying that as he's coming to Twitter, and I think it begs the question whether or not what Twitter is cultivating here is not actually a free speech platform, but a platform that allows certain kind of views, liberal, democratic, establishment views like Don Lemon's, and won't allow progressive leftist views or attitudes challenging the military-industrial complex and foreign policy in meaningful ways. And I think we also saw this with Elon reneging on his promise to offer an equal platform to all of the presidential candidates, including Marianne Williamson.
Yeah, I wish he would give Marianne Williamson a platform. I think I was not exactly clamoring for the news show. I don't think you were. I'm not sure what you were. But you know what? I would certainly watch some kind of Avengers-style meetup between him and Tucker Carlson, another person who creates content for Twitter. I think that would be entertaining. Some things can just be entertaining without having any underlying news value. That would be just fine. We talked earlier that Tulsi is going to be joining the platform in some kind of way. Do you know what I did last month, Brianna?
What's that?
I did it. You can all say, we told you would eventually. I bought the blue check mark.
I think it's almost irresponsible for media figures.
The whole sharing monetization thing. I mean, the subscription level only costs $19.99 a month, and my tweet's doing okay. I'm not tweeting. I'm just tweeting a little bit more than I was before. I got paid like more than that
Sure.
amount after 2 days.
Yeah,
So it seems easily. I don't know why everyone wouldn't do it, but
Well, I don't have that kicked on. I didn't sign up for Twitter Blue. I always had Twitter Blue long before Elon Musk owned the app, so I just maintained my previous subscription rate. I do think it's
Blue
interesting that
it pays for itself.
just
Just a quick tip out there, it pays for itself.
depending on how many followers you have and how
You got more than I do.
active it is. Yeah, but for the average viewer, I don't know that it's going to pay for itself. I want to just bring into focus what Don Lemon's kind of countercultural perspective is likely to be. Remember the circumstances of him leaving cable news. It wasn't because he made some strident critique of the deep state. It wasn't because he criticized Joe Biden or any other corporate corruption. It wasn't because he challenged off-color remarks.
What do you call it?
Maybe sexist remarks about Nikki Haley.
Don't care. Are Asian or Spanish people like fucking how Native people are? Like everybody knows each other. Martinez. What the fuck is that? What the fuck's this? Try to find this motherfucker. I have all this shit.
Aimed at using
Okay,
sex
well-
to blackmail people. In her article, reporter Vicky Ward noted that President Donald Trump's Labour Secretary, Alexander Acosta, was the U.S. Attorney for South Florida who arranged he'd cut the non-prosecution deal with one of Epstein's attorneys because he'd been told to back off that Epstein was above his pay grade, wrote Ward. I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone, Acosta said, according to Ward. It seems somewhat plausible. It doesn't seem ridiculous when you look at some of the crimes he was convicted of and subsequent sentences. See that he had relationships with people in the judiciary. Then you just have to ask yourself, do you think it's possible the judiciary are corruptible? Yeah, basically. Do you think that deep state agencies do think they're corrupt? Yeah. Do you think that the legacy media don't report on stories because they too have a shared interest in outcomes that are favourable to the interests of the citizens? Yeah. Well, there's a conspiracy. Not really that fanciful at all, is it? It could be that Maxwell and intelligence have been blackmailing Epstein, or it could have been that the relationship between Epstein, the Maxwells, and intelligence agencies was one of mutual convenience. Jesse Kornbluth, a former friend of Epstein, said in 2019, in 1986, that he didn't just manage money for clients with mega fortunes, he was also a high-level bounty hunter. Sometimes he told me he worked for governments to recover money looted by African dictators. Other times, those dictators hired him to help them hide their stolen money. In a sense, we begin to question, when we have access to information like this, the narratives that are presented as ordinary right across history. It's commonly understood that during the colonial period, and even late colonial period, and even as recently as the 80s, the is messing with their governments is known in the 60s all the way up to the 80s. Your country, the United States of America, dabbled, interfered with elections in Latin and Central America, installed juntas, shut down elections, had favoured candidates. What we regard as accepted reality is precisely that, just a packaged together reality, often using the kind of techniques that we're getting a glimpse of here. The legacy media support narratives that are favourable to these establishment interests. The rest of us don't really have the time, and until recently, even the means to scrutinise them sufficiently. After Epstein's 2008 conviction, he continued to traffic young women. Bloody hell, he's just been sentenced for that. He's not learned a thing. And the 2008 conviction wasn't the first time Epstein got off easy. In the early 1990s, reports Whitney Webb, she's coming up on the show soon, fantastic guest, Epstein was dropped from an investigation into one of the biggest pyramid schemes ever recorded, even though investigators had named him the mastermind. Don't worry about this Epstein guy. Sure, he was on the top of the pyramid, but only because he liked the feeling of sitting on it. The Wall Street Journal also reported that Epstein's private calendar showed that he had dozens of meetings with Catherine Rumler, a former White House counsel under President Barack Obama. These meetings and meetings with many other wealthy connected individuals occurred years after Epstein became a convicted sex offender. It's pretty extraordinary that he continued to have those kind of relationships with extremely powerful and influential individuals long after being convicted of such heinous crimes. Plainly, he operated on a tier of society that isn't normal, with access to devices and power that's way beyond the reach of ordinary people. That's obvious, isn't it? Let me know in the comments if you agree. Okay. Put aside the case of Epstein, is sexual blackmail something that the CIA would typically or usually do? Let's have a look. The CIA has a long record of using sexual blackmail. In 1975, the Washington Post reported that for years, the CIA had operated love traps in New York City and San Francisco. You fell into my love trap, you
son of a bitch. I know, and I love that. Where foreign diplomats were lured by prostitutes in the pay of the CIA. The goal of this secret operation, the Post explained, was to entrap these diplomats. Through hidden one-way mirrors, CIA agents filmed the sexual adventures and later tried to blackmail the victims into becoming informants. The CIA also ran a sub-project of MK Ultra called Operation Midnight Climax from 1955 to 1965. MK Ultra, not long ago, used to have to be discussed in hushed terms. It itself was just regarded as a conspiracy.
I know Native people and Spanish people, you guys seem to have a lot in common.
Took place. The problem of independent media, primarily for the establishment,
and I've never seen anybody with like the first last name and the same name.
To establishment narratives and those that
guys that fucking works for security, IT security.
Laws are being introduced to shut down the power of independent media, and that's why
pretty sure he got deported though. That or like his girlfriend kicked him out. Is that racist? No, racist.
It's an astonishing web of
I can't be racist. I dated a black guy once. Sorry, I know that's so inappropriate. I find it funny.
Used hookers to lure unsuspecting Johns from North Beach bars to what they call the pack. Then dose them.
I remember these fucking skip and rolling thingies for fucking lip gloss, and I remember how badly they sucked.
You think that the
I got really excited at first, but then I was like, oh yeah, this
I'm
is the problem.
simply saying you aren't allowed to create and throwing the martini while that diplomat
And just I got out of the cat.
and you're paying for it. Well, there are but can I get involved? Sir, you are perfect. Can I get another olive in this? In addition to his possible ties to American intelligence, Epstein may have also been connected to the Israeli Mossad. In Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Howard and Cronin say that a friend of the Maxwells, Laura Goldman, believed that Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, was a Mossad spy, and that Ghislaine carried on his work. And a former Israeli spy, Ari Ben, was Robert Maxwell's handler and claimed to have introduced Epstein to Mossad. They were agents of the Israeli intelligence services, said Ben Menashe. Later on, Ghislaine got involved with Israeli intelligence together with him. I guess you just have to ask yourself, what is the morality of these agencies? And the very fact, as I always say, that there is clandestine information that we're not allowed access to, the very fact that someone like Julian Assange is in Belmarsh right now because he revealed information that we weren't supposed to get access to, shows you how seriously they take that information, which in itself suggests that if we had access to that information, it will destabilise massively and even further our trust in these institutions. Of course, it's not just, hey, if Putin had that information, you'd destroy it. Well, it's like, what? They sit on toilets, swing a martini, all these people around you. You're letting people get away with sex crimes simply because they're involved in very powerful politicians. I don't want anything to do with this. I want to run my own community. I don't want anything to do with your mad, corrupt, centralised gangsterism. That's what it is, and it's plainly, I would say, true. I would say this is true. Let me know in the comments and chat. And also, the tip of the iceberg. Whitney Webb, in her book, says Ben Menashe told her the same thing. Israel's higher-ups approved of Epstein based on Maxwell's word. Webb reports that Ben Menashe said one of those higher-ups was Ehud Barak, who was head of Israeli military intelligence between 1983 and 1985, the period when he met Epstein. Barak was prime minister from 1999 to 2001. Last year, the Wall Street Journal reported that Epstein's calendars showed that between 2013 and 2017, Epstein had or planned 36 meetings with Barak. So it is really interesting and fascinating that there's this island of all of this salaciousness and sex crime involving really powerful, famous people and movie stars and politicians. But I do believe that's a smokescreen and set dressing. The truth behind it is that Epstein is like a visible tip of the iceberg of nets of incomparable corruption. It's one of those threads that if you pull it will lead to some really significant and powerful figures. It's only the fact that Bill Clinton's a few presidents ago now and receding into irrelevance that we're allowed access to that name. What will be given, I predict, is we'll be given a few stooges and a few sacrifices, because the truth is that this behaviour and comparable behaviour still goes on. Of course it does. Corruption still continues. The deep state is still involved in nefarious activity. The legacy media still deceitfully conceal information that's convenient to them, don't report and report information, create stories for raising storms where convenient. All of the instruments of this type of corruption are still available. They didn't die with Jeffrey Epstein. We still don't know really, do we?
how and why Jeffrey Epstein died, but we don't know why, it's not how. The totality of evidence suggests that Epstein might have been an intelligence asset for multiple countries. This theory is also supported by an effective media blackout on Epstein's abuse for over a decade until Epstein's 2019 conviction. On a hot mic, ABC News anchor Amy Robach claimed that she had the story in 2016, but the network killed it, due at least in part to pressure from the royal family. It was unbelievable what we had, said Robach. We had everything.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts.
Snow bunnies?
We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that
That's
is.
the first. It took me.
It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on.
I'm so sorry, but that's the first time I've ever heard that term, and it took me a second to like process what exactly that would be.
Every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal.
So it was crushed. This information was available in 2016. Now remember, when people talk about the extraordinary conspiracy theories about dominant families, and powerful connections, and paedophiles, and extraordinary occultist type activity, it is regarded as just outrageous and ludicrous by the majority of people. But when a story like this breaks, you begin to get a sense that there is
starting
more
like
to
a
global
channel
power
for
than meets the eye. And relationships and deep state
Not
operations.
okay. So I think the thing about men and women, like men should not be wearing makeup because it makes them not manly or makes them womanly. I think it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. And I think that if you have really bad pimple and you put cover up on it as a man, I feel like that's not a huge deal. Like that doesn't really fucking amount to like, oh, you're a fucking fuckboy homosexual. Like, it's fucking dumb. But channel specifically for
in 2021, an FBI agent
people who have skin
sex trafficking trial. The evidence went
problems. Like mine personally is from doing too many drugs. So I say I have leprosy. I'm turning into a leopard. I have spots.
Epstein's brother discovered it was missing from the Department of Justice's Inspector General Office's 128-page investigative report, which took 4 years to complete.
And you're a drug addict and you have spots, obviously. You can just shrug your shoulders and be like, yo,
the adults are back in charge. There's nothing to see.
All it was a guy that had a lot of my nephew was 2 or 3.
Kept getting off of extraordinary crimes with weird, lenient sentences.
He started poking my arm. It's like anti-ouchie, poking all my spots. I was like, oh shit.
And when he went to jail, sort of killed himself.
A baby, so like, fucking know that. I'm gonna explain that eventually.
With this story, you conspiracy theory. Maybe the Loch Ness Monster's real. I'm going to go to Loch Ness. The attorney of Epstein's brother told a reporter last July that she'd been trying to get a copy of the report since 2019. Michael Baden, who for 50 years was the pathologist for the New York State Correction Medical Review Board, said that manual strangulation, not suicide, explains Epstein's neck fractures. Whereas the ambulance report, which would be more valuable than relying on what the 2 corrections officers who found Epstein said.
This I learned from a transvestite person. This is called baking. You bake shit on your face. It's fucked up. I'm just trying to fucking listening to news. So depressing. Yo, Mexico's probably like tightening up their fucking borders, being like, stay the fuck out of our out of our actual country. Like, totally. Must be great though. Well, I mean, like to an extent. You guys are the best drugs. I've only known one chick that was Mexican. She was from Guatemala. Her name was Emily. Fucking crazy as fuck, man. Crazy. Like, really crazy. She'd get jealous of her boyfriend's sister, I think it was, would call him like about almost every day or every second day, and she was like getting super pissed. I was just like, what is his sister? Like, why do you care? And she was like, we're going on a boat vacation on a boat. We got a boat, and it basically like just like sits on the, what do you call it? On the docks. or like just like slightly like out to water, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, are you going like to some specific destination? And she was like, no. And it's just so that that for the summer he won't be with his friends. I was like, oh my god, you're just gonna trap your boyfriend on a boat? What the fuck? I swear to God, okay, Christian, okay, final warning to Christian. No. Ask me one more fucking time. Oh. Okay. I started live streaming probably like, oh my god, 6 years ago, about, and it was because I was in an not abusive where he beat me up, but it was like mentally and verbally very abusive. So I started live streaming, and then I started living in my car. But like I would live stream so that there's proof of where I am. Because everyone, I don't know where everyone gets this from. Everyone thinks I'm like this big crazy party animal, and I'm just like party, and I'm like, I literally party the least out of everybody I know. I go to party and I babysit people who would get too fucked up. Like I literally don't do anything. I'm a grown ass adult that literally chalks at nighttime. I will like chalk big crazy mural, and then like at around 5 o'clock in the morning, I'll just like run away. But I was like, I've been like homeless for like 5 years. This is my home now. So no longer homeless. But I was living in a tent for over a year. Like last summer I was in a tent. Before that I was in my car. But then I got in a car accident. If you notice, my wrist does not line up with my hand. It's really icky and gross. Break it. Yeah, no, that was fucked up. I was living in my truck, and then like I fell asleep driving, and I barrel rolled. Oh, I had a broken hip. I woke up when they were putting my hip back in place. They were like, Madison, you're in a car accident. We're putting your hip back into place. I was like, yeah, I can. That's clear. Very clear. A broken arm, broken ankle. I just found the papers, and I did not know this because they called me 3 years later for a fucking, like, I don't even know, to do an ultrasound, and then they're talking about surgery, but I was like, surgery was supposed to be for my arm, you fucking idiots. Like, you guys didn't tell me that the lesions on my liver were fucking, like, anything to, like, no one mentioned anything about that. Like, fucking, I swear to God, don't come to Canada. Don't come here. Honestly, do not come here. The healthcare is such a fucking crock of shit. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've been in the emergency, and I'm like, someone needs to do something about this dying person. Like, literally dying. Like, a man was bleeding from his head into his eye. Like 3 people stood up, and they're like, okay, enough now. Like, someone has to fucking take this man. Like, it was fucked up. Like a fucking third world country. Not kidding. It's a maybe not third world country. You know, at least Kim Jong-un tells his fucking people that they're oppressed. There's no secret about it anymore. Like, fucking China says one China, and then it was like, oh yeah, no. The only way you get what you want here is if you play along. Or if you, like, fucking one China. Like, for fucking Winnie the Pooh. Fuck that guy, man. Like, our government lies to us, and it's like, yeah, no, you can do whatever you want. You have freedom within reason. Fuck you guys. Fucking hate this asshole. I hate Justin Trudeau. I hate him. I hate him. Did you really? Oh my god. 3 days. See, honestly, I was responsible. I wasn't really. I was like, I went to sleep in my truck, and I remember waking up. And I remember talking to someone, but I don't remember getting in the car and driving. Because I drive down the I saw on the report that where exactly, and it was on this long stretch of service road. And I was just driving down it, and 3 times now that I was like, oh my god, I just remembered something. I remembered being under the dashboard like that. And then I remembered someone yelling at me because I was upside down, so they had to flip my car over, and then they had to pull the top off, use the jaws of life to pop the top off. But I remember being, I think, no, it was the way up because I'm pretty sure I was straight. I was underneath the dashboard. Someone was yelling at me. If I could hear them, I was like, fucking. I only remember that though. I had a weird flashback when I was driving down that street. It was fucked up. It's never happened to me before ever. I never had well, I guess a little bit. I had a seizure once at my job at work. My first day at work, and it's fucking seizure. I peeked at my boss. I didn't pee though. But fucking about a year and a half later, I was like, yo, I wasn't fully normal after my seizure for a little bit, eh? And they were like, yeah, we meaning to tell you. It just never really came up. We didn't want to freak you out. I was like, yeah, say something when that shit happens. I wasn't fully there all the time. I was very spacey. It's fucked up. I should have gone to the neurologist probably. Went to the epilepsy appointment. Fucking tests are so stupid. All they're doing is inducing a fucking seizure. It's this is dumb. You can do this at home. They have to come out for this. I didn't know how that was there, so that was good. Be happy, you're a man. I don't think any man, if you ask them, would you rather be a girl? They'd be like, yeah. And they'd be, fuck no. Fuck no. If I ever have a midlife crisis, I'm gonna take my government up on their offer. Become a trans. Become a gay man, though. I don't know. Seems like they're having a good time. I was going to take a course in makeup. I specialize in theatrical face painting. I'm a face painter. It's actually my real, what do you call it? Trade? No, not trade. Whatever. Anyway, no, my real job is I'm a face painter. I do big events like Canada Day. I used to, and then they were like, well, the girl guides will do it for free. I'm like, to get the girl guides to do it. Knock yourselves out. My mom's a clown. I grew up with my mom being a clown with a big red nose. And she does balloons. She does amazing balloons though. She does arches, but then there was one she did of a bride and a groom, and it was made out of balloons, and the thing was 12 feet tall. It's crazy. I don't know what happened to her. Maybe more light would be helpful. Okay, well, we're getting somewhere slowly but surely. These fellows go into the boogers. Ah, it's really pale. A ghost. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Sorry. Here. Sorry. Just had to get it out of there. I don't know. It just popped in my head, so I just need to work it out. Honestly, I think the piano teacher never actually wanted to teach me, or she taught me badly on purpose, because she was a super Christian and I was super not from a Christian family. I was very much swearing at the age of 8. Very much. Woo! Yeah! Fuck yeah! Okay, we're gonna put a video back on though.
I'm second year at Watch. It's quite frankly unbelievable when you think about it that they're bringing 2 people in for every one job. That is just absolutely crazy. It's actually just that those jobs don't pay enough to have a standard of living that is acceptable in Canada. But just by inviting people over and keeping wages low in that area, that doesn't solve the problem. In fact, that will decrease the standard of living. The standard of living in Canada is absolutely collapsing. And in this video, I'm going to walk you what is going on and why, unfortunately, because of the central planners, we can expect this to get a lot worse. So let's get right into it. So Canadian job vacancies are falling sharply as excess labor rises. So what could be going on here? So Canada's job market saw a notable erosion in opportunity as fewer job openings are advertised. Vacant roles fell 9% to 706,000 in Q3 2023, representing 254,000 fewer openings than last year. This marks the 5th consecutive quarter of decline since the peak in Q2 2022. And then basically it has this nice chart for us here which shows we've had the unemployment to job vacancy rate that went down throughout 2021, as you would expect with the stimulus. Obviously nobody wanted to work, and that's basically what was happening there. But what you basically had happen with the job vacancies is the job vacancies, they went up, but now they're coming back down, and you're having the unemployment to job vacancy ratio go up. And as you can see, these look like substantial trends that have been set over a long period of time. They haven't just suddenly appeared that way. So obviously, when things are trending like this, do you think there's going to be some sudden reversal in that? No. And as it goes on to say in this article, because of the amount of immigrants we're taking, you just cannot literally find
And they're
jobs
dumping
for
them in
these
front of a
people,
homeless
and it's
shelter, and they're like having like
insane
their
amount
they have
more
Louis
than you would
Vuitton
actually think.
suitcases,
So
and they're
let's
like,
continue on here.
what?
Canada's vacant roles are
Like,
concentrated in
and they're
low-wage
getting fucking
industries.
Meals on Wheels
that's
food, and like half of it's not cooked
Because you've got
inside.
low
Like,
wage jobs essentially.
it's just
And,
it's
guys,
crazy.
you've just got to think nobody can afford to.
And they
take
throw it in the
those
garbage.
jobs
They're like, hey, well, we're
anyway.
gonna go
This
buy
is
some
exactly why
McDonald's.
they
Like,
bring in all the immigrants to do these jobs. But the reality is that all these immigrants coming in, they're going to live in squalor, slum conditions.
yeah, but they come here like with fucking like Gucci bag, like luggage, like matching Gucci luggage, like.
So it's kind of a
Because we told them, come on over.
like, here, but it is happening. So the vacancy rate.
The water here is great in Canada. I mean, as long as you don't live on a then your water is fucking, what do you call it? Sulfur in it. Gives you mono.
Consecutive quarters. The distribution of these vacancies
Fucking
also yields more insight that is
how many years was
particularly
it?
positive.
3 or 4 years that they're like, hey, you're dumping in the seaway when your fucking ships go by, and they're like, what proof do you have? They're like, wait, they can't really fucking, you need to have shit ton of data, and they're like, no, but we're telling you, that's what's happening. Like, and they're like, I'm sure that's not happening. 4 years later, okay, so satellites show this really nasty dark spot here. So they were fucking dumping in the seaway. Whoops.
Nearly a quarter, 47.5%, in a low-wage role. The role.
That's how you know you got it back home. Once you smell the smell of fucking shaggy, it smells like human waste. It just smells like fucking burning garbage. Yes, home. Home sweet home. And there's a dark cloud that constantly hovers over shaggy. It's hilarious. Once you fucking... Once someone tells that to you, you actually start to notice. You're like, oh, there is a fucking little black cloud that's constantly over shaggy.
Where do all the immigrants work? They work at these large corporations that are structured like oligarchies, and they have a lot of government influence too. So they all work at these large corporations, and basically what you can see is that they're doing the jobs essentially that Canadians don't want to do. But it's not only necessarily that's the case. It's actually just that those jobs don't pay enough to have a standard of living that is acceptable.
Absolutely right.
But just by inviting
not only that, they take
that doesn't solve the problem.
Fucking airport, man.
The standard of living.
I mean, are people who are foreigners or blacks, especially if you're black. Like literally, they're the like my coworkers were the ones that told me. They're like, oh, as long as you get past your probationary period, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like fucking 2 girls would fucking leave to go fucking bathroom. I'm like, oh okay, bye. And whenever they get to grievance, they just go, what? Because I'm black? And they go, no.
In the quarter. If the country calls that a crisis, what does it call?
And honestly, like, good for them. Like, I'm jealous. Like, I wish I could do that, but I can't really pull a white guard.
Oh my god.
Apparently we can, because we're like, English rate. You guys are fucking stupid.
Article. Canada's population is growing nearly 2x job creation. There's good news and bad news when it comes to what drove the decline of vacant roles. The good news, most of the jobs we absorb with payroll and employment
that's a little bit more like
it's significantly higher than vacancies, meaning most were likely absorbed instead of scrapped. It also marked the 10th consecutive quarter for payrolls to rise, meaning the country's employment is on the rise. Adding jobs is great, but it doesn't mean a lot unless contrasted with the population. That's where the bad news comes in. Canada's working age population added 2 times as many people as the economy added jobs. We've discussed this in a number of times, and driving a higher unemployment rate. So there you go. Absolutely insane what is happening in the job market. It is quite frankly unbelievable when you think about it, that they're bringing 2 people in for every 1 job. That is just absolutely crazy, especially considering the to, considering where most of these jobs are added, which is in volatile industries to say the least. This is just going to lead to a massive unemployment crisis, in my opinion, at some point down the road. But anyway, I want to get onto the standard of living and how it's collapsing in Canada. So basically, as you know, the standard of living is going down, but this is covering something that we don't usually talk about here, which is healthcare and education. So this guy posted a good article on National Post. In business, as in life, warnings don't usually come attached with loud blaring sirens. They often first appear as weak signals, one after the other, and as they become more frequent, they also get a little louder. A number of news stories over the past few weeks have been exactly those kind of signals, under the radar warnings about the state of our economy and society.
Lazy Felix makes this so much easier. With just one click, I can save pictures and files directly to the extension without the hassle of downloading and uploading them again. It's a serious time saver. No more cluttered downloads folder. It's all easily accessible right from your browser. You can also create folders in Lazy Felix to stay organized. Oh, and it works with tons of platforms. You can use it in Google Drive, Gmail, Facebook, Reddit, Discord, and so much more. So if you want
the nail on the head there. So it was troubling to see several reports regarding health in Canada. The first was sort of the canary in the coal mine warning. Life expectancy in Canada is dropping. Wow. Okay. So this one, obviously, I'm going to have to
garbage
tread carefully here because
literally
I'm
makeup
not
like
physician,
I haven't bought
I'm not
anything in
doctor,
fucking years.
obviously.
Like
Also,
I
don't want
literally
to trigger
everything in here is from the garbage.
But obviously, we had a load of
Shit,
people
do not.
who made certain medical choices over the
This
past couple
table,
of
holy
years,
shit.
maybe taking controversial
This
medicines,
table, I
which
moved
have
it
now been, quite
like
frankly,
2 weeks ago in
obviously
here. I put it in my fucking car. I have a
significant
Civic.
problems. So anyway, that aside, you've had the life expectancy decline.
I could hear my neighbor, like the people, one of the people in the apartment.
Opioid crisis.
starting to
We've
laugh.
also got depression at record high. We've got a
God,
deterioration
like,
of health in this
like,
country, and
I
your
heard the
mental health
fucking.
is the
A
most
lot of the time, I have
important
to.
thing to your health. Because in my opinion,
A lot of the time, this is a girl thing. Actually, I find now men are doing it more than girls. You guys do this thing where you think that people are either making fun of you or like or talking shit about you just because like someone looks in your general vicinity, like, or even like someone looks in your general vicinity and you will perceive some kind of situation that's just not happening. Like that's what I have to constantly do though, where I'm constantly like, oh, like that person that looked at me and like probably isn't actually like fucking. Because like shat rat for life. It's a shat rat mentality. When you make eye contact with someone on the street, you keep eye contact, and if they don't look away, you go, what? You have a problem? Grown men. This would happen with grown middle-aged men more than anybody, where they would like stare you down and like look at you like, and I'm like, I'm literally like a 16-year-old girl. What is your problem? So now I have to. Now I just stupidly fucking. I look ridiculously retarded, and it's to make people go away faster, honestly. Or it's I will be like, bonjour, comment ça va? And they'll just be like, ugh, and they don't want to talk to me. Well. Oh, last summer, I was walking the fucking dog. It's like 12 o'clock at night on the corner down the street, like next to the bank. And it's like a pretty busy intersection. And there's like 4 teenagers. And it's like 2 girls and their boyfriends. And they just like, they were trying to size me up on the corner. I was like, what? What's going on? Fucking. Like, where are your parents? Or like, just school them out. It's ridiculous. Honestly, living in Lachine in Montreal, seeing the high school is just fucking hilarious. There's like 97% black kids and then like a couple of white kids here and there. I was like, oh, that was a real culture shock, I think. I was like, wow, a lot of black kids like that go to the school. And I was like, it's literally because I grew up in like
such a white middle class community, I guess. Like we had one black family on the street, and like they're like doctor or like the father's like a dentist, something, or they do some kind of, what was it? Red Cross, something in African country. Anyway, but okay. Shadow people. Okay, let's stop watching the fucking pompous British guy. He gives. Okay, so my problem with a lot of these subscriptions that I have for, like, I guess, non-mainstream type entertainment or type information. The problem that I have with them, first of all, a lot of them do way too much fucking commentary. Also, this entire, like, all of my stuff is commentary, obviously. But, like, I just don't want to watch CPOC. Like, I don't want to watch. I used to fucking just, like, put CPOC on every day. What? Device page has been flashed due to a hardware change. That doesn't make sense. Okay, boy. What?
Ah oui, attention, des conseils en placement par téléphone.
Please?
Moi, oui, mais tu vois pas, lui, il fait tout ça en ligne.
Like, if you're gonna advertise me, at least do it in the fucking language I
Things
speak.
change in Canada in a big way. It could have some major impacts for every Canadian. You see, there's one key indicator that has switched directions recently that I don't hear anybody talking about, and this indicator is tightly tied to how much money Canadians make, how well Canadian businesses do, how Canadians' investments perform, and even could be willing to spend. So let's get right into it and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and stick around to the end where there's an opportunity that you might actually be able to work alongside this channel. We'll get into that in a second. Now, this all has to do with the Bank of Canada, Canada's central bank, which is responsible for making decisions that impact Canada's monetary policy. We'll come back to this chart, which shows some of the assets that the Bank of Canada owns and impacts Canada. But before we do, we have to talk about the unique situation that Canada finds itself in and how it could be prompting the change that we're seeing in this chart.
Bankruptcy.
Right now, Canada's
Real estate
economy,
bankruptcy.
you might not need me to tell you this, isn't doing well with our GDP largely stalling.
Real estate bankruptcy.
Product is
Am I right?
a number that many politicians look at to say, hey, look how well our economy is doing, and make themselves look good, right? This GDP stall is happening all at the same time that we're seeing a huge boom in population, which would traditionally help the GDP quite a lot, right? As we add more consumers to the economy, more workers to the economy, and more demand to the economy. Now, we've talked a lot on the channel before about how this is kind of like a sort of human stimulus for the economy, helps make things look better than they actually are, while the average GDP per person stalls and even declines as of recently. But there is one other previously unsaid benefit of these high immigration targets, and it's for large, big box employers and big business chains who otherwise would have been struggling to find employees. Now, this is something that hasn't really largely been said. It doesn't sound all that great, but it's something that now the Liberal immigration minister is being kind of forthright about.
You mentioned aligning international student numbers better with, I think you said, demand. What does that look like? And is that demand from the institutions? Because we've seen they've increased it threefold over the last decade, so they certainly see the demand, or is that demand from industry in terms of having those international students work in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of conversations with different competing policy priorities. You have industries and low-skilled labor, whether it's big box shops or others, looking for cheap labor and wanting to make sure that they maintain a 40-hour work week for some of the students. That's the competing policy with the labor gap that we face in this country.
Okay, so this guy used to be the Minister of Indigenous Affairs. He's the whitest white motherfucker you've ever seen. He's a ginger.
Some competing issues there that we need to really tackle with.
This does seem
He was supposed to be getting fired, so I guess they just moved him to
sort of positive life in Canada.
real
But really,
estate.
you're just trying to bring people into the country to satisfy big business so that they don't have to increase wages for people who are working at their stores. Now, this all impacts Canadian growth, and alongside it, you and your money. We'll get into that in just a second. But it seems like this human stimulus pipeline might be sort of drying up here. Take a look at this. We've got the number of Indian students applying to study in Canada dropping by 41%. This article.
Oh, no shit. Found fucking blow on the fucking Prime Minister's plane. And then he was like, well, they murdered somebody. They're like, what evidence do you have? It's like, I have it on good authority. Somebody told me, okay? I trust that person. It's like, okay, but like, kind of did this like in Parliament. So there's that. You're a fucking idiot.
Some of them may not be all that they seem. So it seems like the human stimulus pool could dry up. And what would the GDP growth that politicians watch so closely and pat themselves on the back for, what would that look like without this added labor supply and without this added consumer demand? Well, we might be about to find out. And without growing the economy by adding way that we can grow the economy, and as a result, the quality of life for Canadians is to increase our productivity, the average amount that each Canadian makes, and that contributes productively to the economy. And that's like our GDP per person or GDP per capita, something Canada has historically been bad at. Talk about something that looks like Canada is not going to get a lot better at least in the short term here. The OECD, which is a large group of countries internationally that sort of compare their economies to get from that comparison. Well, they say that, okay, Canada isn't looking so good leading up to 2020 or 2030 in terms of their GDP per capita forecast. We see all of these other countries sort of coming per year growth in GDP per capita, and the projections here for Canada, right at the bottom of the list, around 0.7% growth in that GDP per person, growth in the quality of life in Canada. And recent numbers, this data is a little recent numbers are showing a little bit lower than that. With all this put together, the prospects of growth in Canada aren't looking too good, right? And that leads me back to the chart we started with from the Bank of Canada. And once we take a look at this, all of this could wind up impacting you. I'm going to move myself over here so that you can see things a little bit more clearly. One thing that's definitely slowing growth in Canada is where interest rates currently are, right? While if you look back at the 70s and the 80s, rates aren't too high right now, sitting around for the Bank of Canada's overnight rate. But when we're taking into consideration the low for long policy that's been in place since 2008, well, the rates we're seeing today are quite high in relation to at least that period. And these higher rates have all kinds of impacts on the economy. It impacts businesses because they expand as quickly, can't take on cheap debt in order to expand businesses. As a result,
apparently no one here eats after 8 o'clock.
Real estate market with higher interest rates, of course, people can qualify for less, and as a result, real estate prices have come down a little bit due to these increased rates, and Canadians just in general feel poorer, and this is kind of the point of increasing interest rates. The Bank of Canada, of course, trying to avoid.
Oh, I have the hooker heels, and I really wish I could still rock them. But I don't have that kind of fucking confidence anymore. Also, I don't want to be taller than my boyfriend.
Changing their policy rate, just the rate they set.
Also, I don't want people to think that I'm a cheap one. But I love my hooker heels. They're so pretty.
This has to do with the.
But I put them in storage.
Bond market.
It's like
you see, interest rates that we all experience in the economy are largely tied
made by men.
Canada government bond rates, right? If we have,
let's just take tiny little canoes and shove our feet into them, and I will find cobblestone streets to walk down and say they're so comfortable.
Now, the unique thing about bond to this is that as the price of a bond increases and the demand for bonds increases, the yield of those bonds or the rate attached to them decreases. We're not going to get into why, but that's how it works. Bond price up, yields down, bond price down, yields or interest rates go up. So the Bank of Canada can control where interest rates go by purchasing or selling Government of Canada bonds, and as a result, either raising or lowering the price from their added demand or their added sell pressure. That's exactly what they did in 2020
What?
during the pandemic to
Okay.
stimulate the economy. We had interest rates.
Yeah, that's
already
fine.
at
Honestly,
their lows.
okay.
It was from the Bank of Canada's policy.
So here's the thing. When I was still homeless and I was still living in my car, I don't know, I was talking or I was driving on my car, something I do. I have a Triforce in my hood. Very discreet, right? So like I had two guys that had come up to me. One was a Ukrainian guy. His name is Alex. And he was just like, "Do you want to maybe hang out?" And I was just like, "That's okay. Like if you're down to you want to hang out with me and my boyfriend, then like that's so I'm cool with that." And he's like, "Oh, because like I'm just like so I actually did end up introducing this guy to my boyfriend. Not kidding." Ah, see, you suck, dude. But this is okay. This is why men are having such because like I used to have all guy friends, and then all of a sudden I can't have guy friends anymore. Even if we have like a whole conversation about it, which like stop making friends that or girls that clearly like want to be friends have these conversations with you guys. Because you know what, honestly, for us to even have these conversations with you. But I will tell guys, like, listen, like, I want to be friends. I want to hang out, but like, I have a significant other, and I'm very happy with my significant other, and I'm not really interested in having and cheating on my boyfriend, like, because I don't do that. So like, I was having this problem having guy friends that were hitting on me, even though I told them that, and like fucking at some point they have their hand on my. I'm like, what the fuck did I say? like we don't. I don't want to have this conversation with you. Not only that, I don't want to be a bitch about it. Cause like it feels like I don't want to be one of those fucking annoying dumb bitches. Like, you know. But not even that. One of my last jobs, I was telemarketing, and there was a guy named Sean, and I told him, I was like, as long as it's just like us hanging out. And he was like, yeah, for sure not. Like, I wouldn't disrespect you like that, blah, blah, blah. And at some point, I was like, so you want to go into the room? I was like, are you fucking for real? I was like, listen, Sean, like, if you can't talk to me appropriately, and if you're gonna keep trying to get in my pants, like, we can't hang out. We can't be friends anymore. And he actually, because he was part of, they're like, oh, Sean, he's so sweet, he's so nice. So he went to all of his closer friends, because I was an opener, I transferred over to the closers. He was telling all the closers to literally fuck up my sale. They would literally lose the sale intentionally so that I wouldn't make sales. I was like, I don't understand what I'm doing. Like, what I'm doing wrong, though. And then he told a bunch of girls to go to HR and my boss to tell them that I was sniffing blow off the counter in the bathroom. And they brought me in, and my boss she grew up around the block from me. She just off the fence, come to hang out with me in my house. So she was like, so there's a situation. This is what the accusation is. I was like, okay, first of all, I'm not just a junkie. I do drugs like a fucking champion. Like, I don't need babysitters, and like I know how to take drugs. First of all, you do your drugs before work, or you leave your drugs in the car. And second of all, I don't associate with anybody who does cocaine. Honestly, like, you will explode not only your life, you'll explode every fucking person. Anyway, if you do cocaine, you're a piece of shit, and you should not do cocaine, because only pieces of shit do cocaine. Just saying. So yeah, I literally said to HR, like, I know how to do drugs properly. You know me. Like, cocaine is like the last drug that I would fucking be doing. And and they were like, oh, well, they said that you were like in the stall and they could hear you sniffling. And they looked into the stall. I was like, why are they fucking looking into into one of the girls' bathroom stalls? Like, that's fucked up. Like, And my boss was like, "Matt, I think you're being bullied." And I laughed at her. I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about being bullied?" Like, so, and she's like, I think you should make a formal like statement with HR." And I was just like, "Nah, I talked to Sean, and we're not gonna hang out. We're not gonna talk anymore because like he apparently just can't seem to not be a gross prick." So they made me do it anyway. I was like, I really don't feel comfortable with this. Like, I'm not that kind of person. I don't go to HR, fucking fill out a form. If I have a problem with you, I fucking deal with it. Like right then and there. Like, yeah, anyone named Sean that I've ever met, fucking asshole. Yeah, but you know what? All my friends do crack now. They're like fucking Smeagol in a parking lot, fucking smoking a fucking meth pipe or a crack pipe. My brother's fucking lost his mind. Thinks that fucking everyone's out to fucking kill him all the time. Like, I'm like, like nobody fucking cares about you that much to fucking want to put money in for a hit on you. Like, honestly, just whatever. And it's not normal crack and meth. Just say like it's called Tina. And it personally, I would say that it's more addictive than heroin and meth and cocaine and tobacco. I think it's way more powerful, way more addictive than that. And you lose all emotions, like you don't feel bad anymore, like, and you get viciously aggressive. And like not just aggressive, like I thought my brother was gonna hit his girlfriend. He was like screaming like 2 inches from her face, like, and I thought he was gonna fucking hit her. I was like, that's not my fucking brother. Yeah, but see, like, this is why you guys have problems with girls. Because, like, you guys, first of all, men, a lot of you are way too close with your moms. Way too close with your moms. Just saying. If your mom's taking you shopping for her, that's weird. I don't care if you're a child, but especially not as a teenager. You should not be shopping with your mom. It's fucking weird. And, like, if your mom gets jealous about your girlfriend, that is also super weird. What was that? Okay. What's the next? So the fact that like fucking I don't know. Okay. My best friend for like 10 years was a guy named Shane. And we dated a couple times, but like not usually for more than like a month or two at a time. And like it was a high school thing, whatever. Like it was my best friend. He lived around the block from me. And after 10 years, like with where I was like, Shane, I can't keep on coming to you when I'm crying over a boyfriend, like or a breakup. And like you comfort me, and then we end up getting back together, and it's like I realize why I can't handle you. Like he wants somebody to baby and mother him, and I'm just not that person. So we would break up, and he'd be like, "Okay, I understand," and like, but he was my best friend after 10 years. I was like, "So, your friend Cam, like, I think I'm gonna go ahead and make a move," and he was like, "Seriously? Like, if you do that, we're not gonna be friends anymore." I was like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you gotta be kidding. That's like, are you serious? Like, I was like, Shane. I was like, what? Didn't say that. And he was like, oh, because I'm in love with you, obviously. I was like, but Shane, we've talked about it. Like, I'm not willing to put up with what you want from me. So, like, it's just like, but I just, like, I love Shane so much. I just don't want to fuck Shane. And a lot of men and intimacy. And a lot of because I was like, Shane, you're not in love with me. Most of the time, you fucking hate me. It's like people used to be like, you guys are like an old married couple. Like you guys argue all the time, and yell at each other. And I was just like, and to this day, he doesn't talk to me. Talk to Cameron again. Like Cameron's friends away from him. Well, they fucking are shitty friends to have. Like I wasn't really friends with them. I was friends with Shane. And they were shitty. But yeah, no, Trudeau throws a tantrum.
I have come home and I have stood at the base of the step just dreading.
Fat. No, it's a fatty. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you.
Welcome back to the Great White North, folks. I've always wanted to start a video off like that. SNORE. Payback $80,000 vacation. This is, oh, my screen's cutting it off. This is from 8 months ago, folks. 8 months ago. We're gonna get
Trudeau went to Costa Rica, on Truth and Reconciliation Day, which was his idea. When the Pope came, it was his 12th vacation that year. And then he was like, it was a misjudgment, or it was a bad judgment call on my part. My bad. Fuck you.
$80,000 worth of free accommodations at the villa of a Trudeau Foundation donor. That's what anyone else would have had to pay to stay there over that 9-day vacation. Now he has a big IOU to those Trudeau Foundation donors. Who obviously be expecting something in return for it. Everyday Canadians pay for.
It was like, oh, tell her I'm sorry, and not accepted. Apology not accepted. Oh, you are gonna fucking come and find me, and you are gonna have
I know, right? It's happening again right now. He's gonna pay back that money. He's gonna pay back the money that he had to dip into the taxpayers' pool for those not one but 2 planes, the C-144, whatever the hell India media said it was. Yeah, it's just pretty interesting how, I don't know, history repeats itself. Have you heard that one before? That's why it's important to pay attention to politics, as boring as it is sometimes. But that's why you have me. Oh, hopefully you view it that way.
Mr. Speaker, I went away with my family and my kids.
You mean your ex-wife because you're homosexual?
Down in the comments, I want people to keep track of how many ums and ahs Justin Trudeau says and how many Pierre says. So far, Trudeau has. Keep track in the comments, folks.
Place that I have stayed at many times over the past decades since I was 1 year old, Mr. Speaker. But of course, in all these situations, we work with the Ethics Commissioner to ensure all the rules are followed, and that happened in this case.
You know this is a little bit older. I know he's cut out a little bit because of my camera, but that's Marco Mendicino. Bye, Felicia. Boy, oh boy, I don't miss him.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition. Speaker, nobody is the Prime Minister having a vacation. I know it's his favorite thing to do. I have a vacation at the same time. It was a Sunwing package, and I did stay 5 hours waiting at the airport. But that being said, I paid for it myself.
This is so funny.
We're not asking for the Prime Minister to pay for this. Pay for his private jet. We're simply asking him to pay the same price any other family who stayed at that resort would pay, so that he doesn't owe anybody anything. Will he pay back that $80,000?
You're right, and recently, because of the rise in controversies, well, especially with this repeat incident happening where he's taking what seems to be a bit of a bribe, when someone gives you feel a little bit in debt, right? Like, here is something, a gift. Don't worry, there's no strings attached. And normally that's the case, but still, as a person receiving the gift, it's like, okay, I hear you. I hear that there are no strings attached and that you don't expect anything or even want anything. Natural human emotion for everybody, except narcissists. to think,
Ah,
what does that person want in return? What can I do? Should I
Kiko?
thank them? How could I repay them? How could I thank them? Just that type of behavior. So the fact that Trudeau's received an 80,000, $80,000, not $800 gift, not even an $8,000 gift. 80,000, that's a year's wage in Canada. That's a lot of money. I mean, a year's wage for certain people, maybe more or less than that. It's irrelevant. It's still someone's
80,000
yearly
for a
wage.
year.
That's a lot of money to just be
I don't
given
know
as a
anybody who fucking made
present
$80,000 a year.
gift
I'm
for
just saying.
vacation when vacations don't normally cost that much. I don't know anybody who would spend that much money unless you're like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. I don't know, or Mr. Beast. That's kind of unusual, folks. Kind of unusual. So, should Trudeau feel in debt for an $80,000 vacation? I think any normal human being would feel in debt for being given an $80,000. And Pierre's comments about we don't expect the Prime Minister to have to pay for the security detail or even the jet. That makes sense. That is absolutely factual. And mainstream media, every media in the world, and every person in the world will be like, yeah, that makes sense. You're leaving a country. Of course, you need transportation and security. It's the actual cost for the thing. You know, like we pay for our dinners, we pay for our food, we pay for our vacations. It's normal human stuff. Not the Trudeau, he wants to up taxes for all Canadians. So he can do shit like this. It's frustrating. It is frustrating. Let's keep going.
Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, these are family friends. My father was godfather to one of their children. Their father was godfather to one of my brothers. Mr. Family friends that we've had for many, many decades, close to 50 years. And over those 50 years, I have been to that vacation spot many, many times with my family, with my father when he was still alive. But of course, Mr. Speaker, we worked with the Ethics Commissioner to make sure all rules were followed. And we followed all the practices in regards to prime ministerial travel, including, unfortunately, having security along with us, which is a requirement for all prime ministers of any party.
The honorable leader of the opposition. And we all agree the prime minister should have security. We have no problem with him having friends, and my friends might buy me a cup of coffee or a beer, but not an $80,000 gifted vacation.
Well, wasn't ratio, they were like, buy your brother-in-law that truck. That's why my brother-in-law tried to beat me up. Like, now I know. It's because I didn't buy him a car. I didn't know that was a requirement. Seems like a little much.
Really get rid of this IOU and clear his conscience by paying for his own vacation.
All right, that couldn't have made any more sense. And you know what? If you're still thinking somehow this far into the video, 8-9 minutes, wherever we are into this video, I'm not convinced that Trudeau would be held over him. Haha, I guess you've never received a fairly expensive gift. I mean, a lot of people, maybe Christmas time, your birthday, you get something nice. And you might be in a position where you've never been treated that way. And I'm sorry, not that people should spoil you with gifts that are hundreds or thousands of dollars, but it does happen from time to time. From family, from friends, from loved ones, whatever it is. 80,000 is a lot of money, folks. That's a year's wage. That could be 2 years.
I don't know who the fuck you know. Like,
money. So yeah, even for a prime minister, even for a president, even for a politician, even for like a very wealthy person, that's a big gift. Even Joe Rogan only receives like $15,000 watches from his buddies, which don't cost a lot of money for not only watch but a gift. But this is a lot more money than that.
Honorable Prime Minister, I think Canadians are worried about the opposition's friends who buy him a cup of coffee. I think the Canadians are worried about his millionaire friends that he's using back local news for Canadians. It's issues.
Oh, God! Oh, my God!
oh, let your kid burn to death, please.
Oh, my God!
No one cares about your stupid child.
What a mess!
It is. Why is your child cooking and retarded? I don't know. These look like they're expensive. And of course, unique splash.
Hi, everybody who's watching this video. Please let me know down in the comments if you're worried about Pierre Poilievre's billionaire friends, which she's probably referring to Elon Musk, who has been pretty vocal about the Trudeau communist regime here in Canada, if that worries you at all. Are you worried about Leah's billionaire friends? Please let me know down in the comments. let's just solve that right now.
The CDC has brought in to involve American tech giants to try and attack the local news, the local culture, the francophone news Canadians rely on from coast to coast to coast. Yes, we have our disagreements in this place, but when he goes running to his billionaire tech giant friends to try and attack Canadian institutions, Canadians should be asking tough questions.
So you know what the funniest thing about this is? My latest video, if you haven't yet seen it, is about India media, just currently, in the past couple of days, completely shitting on Justin Trudeau for his plane glitching in his most recent. You guessed it, cost $80,000, if not more, in just accommodations. So, did Pierre do that? Did he reach out to India media and be like, hey, any billionaire friends in India that want to just poke fun at Justin Trudeau so that I can become prime minister? I highly doubt. So any of the points that Trudeau just brought of like, oh, Pierre's using very influential people to shit on me, that's not really relevant. The whole world does it. I'm not influenced by Pierre. Like, he's not paying me. He's not saying, hey, Mr. Sunshine, in an email, can you make another video about Trudeau? No, it's fun. He doesn't have to tell me to do it. There's no real incentive or motive other than it's fun and you deserve to be shit on, Justin Trudeau. You are a horrible, horrible human being. If Elon Musk, which he's a very brilliant man and influential person, he's like to get to that own conclusion himself.
Elon Musk is a fucking idiot.
Mr. Trudeau, that you are a piece of garbage. Anyways,
I just don't understand
that one and get into Pierre Poilievre just completely pushing Trudeau's buttons to the point where he kind of
extremely painful.
And Pierre tells Canadians to Google it.
Well, it's now clear why he wants to censor the internet, Mr. Speaker. He doesn't want Canadians to go and find out which of us is telling the truth. It'd be very easy for them. I encourage them to Google a distributional analysis of the federal fuel charge on the 2030 emissions reduction plan. Page 3. If you're out there watching, Google it now. You will see the Prime Minister is deliberately misinforming the House, stating that Canadians will be better off when clearly the average household will pay more than $1,500 more in taxes than they get back. Would the Prime Minister like me to have one of the pages send this document over so that he can read it?
Honorable Prime Minister. The Conservative government would still choose, the Conservative opposition still chooses
The Conservative government. Everybody's going nuts because he said the Conservative government. Great points, past tense, Jasper. Yes, Justin Trudeau is pretty much predicting the future, the Conservative government. And, well, since this video, which was, again, 8 months ago, it's pretty much on the same time frame as the video that we just watched. Yeah, Trudeau predicted that he would be sitting around 1% in the polls, which, haha, he is. Get used to it. Oh, yeah. Bye-bye.
maybe take direction from their whip.
Sorry.
Look at her or him. I mean, like, you know, I'll just listen. You're good? Okay, I got your word for it. Good. I'll get your word for it.
I would actually like to know down in the comments which House Speaker you prefer. Invited a Nazi into Parliament, or Greg Fergus, who has multiple ethics violations and already is on his way to be kicked out as House Speaker after less than a month. Please let me know down in the comments.
Why are you watching an
on a scale of 1 to yes? How fucked up is Canada?
Minister from the top. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party of Canada continues to refuse.
What? No.
To be free.
Texas is suing Pfizer for being legally misleading about their recent. The WHO treaty is just about to be passed, and if it is, you won't have any choice at all about what medications you take if the WHO say you should. So is that democracy? Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Thanks for joining us on our Voice of Freedom. I am so grateful that you're here today as we continue to awaken together. You'll notice that there is an awakening taking place because things that were regarded as unsayable and heretical just a couple of years ago are now right there in the legacy media, not by choice, but because of necessity, because independent media has brought these ideas to the forefront. And one such example is the state of Texas suing Pfizer for being misleading about vaccines. And yet, the WHO are still pushing a treaty that will mean that if your country, if you happen to live in a country that's a member state, and you probably do, then if the WHO say you've got to take vaccines, your country's got to do lockdowns, then that is what will happen. Your government will be able to abdicate responsibility entirely. You may have forgotten how many times during the pandemic period you heard the words, well, this is the WHO recommendation, this is what the WHO thinks. In fact, policies like lockdown and masking, vaccines all came via the WHO. No matter how they arrived at your nation, they are all measures that happen to be recommended and could soon be mandated by the WHO. So let's have a look at that lawsuit. Let's have a look at a physician whose license was revoked during the pandemic period for vaccine misinformation that turned out was simply foresight. And let's have a look at this new WHO treaty and what it will mean if it's passed and why we should oppose it.
New at 4, Attorney General Ken Paxton suing drug maker Pfizer. Paxton posted about it to social media, accusing the company of misrepresenting the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine and conspiring to censor public discourse.
The federal government, long ago, back in I think the 80s, passed a law that gave protection to pharmaceutical companies when they provided vaccines. There's no liability, complete protection. However, under state law, they don't have those same protections. We have a Deceptive Trade Practices Act, and that's what we're suing them under, arguing that they did not tell our consumers in Texas the truth, and therefore they're damaged because they didn't tell the truth about the effectiveness or the potential side effects of the vaccine. We think the number 95% was not a true number. It wasn't an accurate number. It wasn't a reliable number, and they knew it. That's our argument. They knew that it wasn't a reliable number, and therefore they misled consumers about the effectiveness. So people are making healthcare decisions that are pretty important, and they're taking on a vaccine that hasn't really been tested, and we don't know the long-term effects. Yet they knew some of the potential side effects, and they knew that it wasn't 95% effective. And so people are making their decisions based on believing that Pfizer is telling them the truth. And of course, then the Biden administration came in and started threatening people with their jobs. And we had other, cities and states doing the same thing, forcing people to get this vaccine. And it was based on false information. And that's a real problem because it has long-term consequences for consumers in Texas. One of the good things about this litigation is it's going to bring out information that the public hasn't known. And we're going to make sure that information gets out. So at the very least, whether we win, I think we're going to win. And potentially we'd have other lawsuits. But at the very least, the public can go, wait a minute, I'm going to be I'm going to be a lot more hesitant to trust the Biden administration next time or any other government entity that tells me I have to get it or I'm going to lose my job or I have to get that pressure didn't add up.
So you've obviously witnessed this narrative evolve from a point where these are simply matters that couldn't be discussed to the point where there's legislation taking place at the level of the state. And yet the WHO treaty, if passed, will mean that your entire nation will be mandated to follow measures that they suggest. Thankfully, it is at least being publicly discussed, and at the moment we have the opportunity to potentially oppose it. This is Dr. Meryl Nass, who had her license revoked during the pandemic, articulating exactly why we should be skeptical about this new WHO treaty, which seems to be just one of those insidious pieces of legislation that characterizes globalization. It just appears, passes, and all of a sudden you edge a little closer to autocracy without ever having voted it, which I suppose is the nature of tyranny.
We're undergoing a soft coup, and the idea is to create a whole new set of laws and ignore the existing human rights laws and other laws under the pretext of pandemic preparedness and the biosecurity agenda.
Is it me, or does the future feel more insecure and uncertain? Wars, pandemics, lies, trickery, my cats keep having kittens, last one person.
For those who are in the United States, there is a way to secure your hard-earned nest egg. American Hartford Gold make it easy to protect your savings and retirement accounts with physical gold and silver. With one phone call, they can have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door, or inside a qualifying retirement account like your IRA or 401k. American Hartford Gold is the highest rated firm in the US with an A+ rating from the BBB and thousands of satisfied clients. Right now, they will give you up to $5,000 of free silver on your first qualifying order. This offer is only for US customers. Call 866-505-8315. That's 866-505-8315. Or simply text BRAND to 998899. Get up to $5,000 of silver and protect your future in this crazy, crazy world with some solid precious metals literally making stars.
The WHO is developing through all its nations, but with the WHO director in the United States in charge, a pandemic treaty and amendments to the existing international health regulations that will remove the human rights protections currently embedded in the IHRs, will enforce surveillance, censorship, get rid of freedom of speech, require governments to censor and only put. Also, we will be subject, if they can make this work, to vaccines developed in 100 days.
I think that the rise of populism is a response to this kind of globalist bureaucracy that the doctor here is describing. While the legacy media may continually with a
little bit more reasonable
tell us that Trump will lead us into a future dictatorship, or the rise of this right-wing faction or that group is responsible for the decline of society, I am more concerned about the insidious creep of global legislation that will mean that your media is controlled, that medical choices are taken, that taxation is taken from you, none of which is ever going to be voted for. You don't have to go online right now and sign a petition to oppose. That's literally the only thing you can do. You've got to come seek out democracy on the internet like we're looking for pornography.
Which the organization CEPI is planning to do, and one of the people who founded CEPI was Jeremy Farrar, who is now the chief scientist at the WHO, to bring this forward. Other things that the amendments do is to bind this, no longer recommendations, but enforceable edicts.
I heard Dave Martin describing this treaty. He said they just make minor amendments, like this doctor is describing. It might have previously said these measures will not be mandated. Will not be mandated. It's will be mandated. A pretty significant change. This woman is not engaging in histrionics. She's simply telling you about a treaty that she's read. Oh my God! The way you make those changes, that means that if the WHO say this is a pandemic, they'll be able to say you can censor this kind of dissident information or misinformation or malinformation, whatever is the en vogue term at that time. These medications should be mandated. These lockdown measures should be enforced. And imagine in a IDs, what other measures might be proposed. You know that during the pandemic, vaccine passports became a hot topic, legitimized because of the necessity of it. But now we know, because of the Texas lawsuit, that they were wrong about the efficacy of those vaccines. They were wrong about it stopping transmission. It was wrong in so many ways. All of this is kind of being lost in a morass of misinformation, malinformation, and increasing cultural conflict around the world now. But the truth is that global regulations are currently being discussed and may yet be passed. All mean the same. And even worse could happen again. Imagine the Canadian trucker convoy. People just protesting, you can't do that, that's Nazi. Oh, let's report it. You can't report on that, that's Nazi. Well, do we have to take this medication? I've got a respiratory condition or some problem, some religious idea. You do have to take. This is what's being presented to you, not by a political party that you voted for, not by some community action that you're a part of, but by a global entity that you do to some degree already fund. That's where the WHO gets a significant portion of money. Of course, you know where else they get it, answers in the chat. And they're now looking to leverage even more power over your individual and national life.
Provide a liability shield, get rid of intellectual property rights, move supplies from one country to another, enforce digital passports, and the Director General of WHO can demand that a pandemic or a potential pandemic exists. He can just declare it with no standards, and then countries around the world will have to obey. Also, the WHO will tell you what things you can and can't use.
For a minute, I'm having a bit of a band, but
Townsend, do all the talking. I'm trying to send around drugs. Those guys are crazy. People are trying to knock us down. Well, let's be honest. It's us trying to knock you down.
In your nation, once a pandemic is declared, obviously the budget will increase.
This is precisely what I mean when I talk about establishment globalism. Unelected bodies proposing and then ultimately imposing regulation and laws on an individual and on your entire nation. And the reason that your government is not vociferously, loudly, and continually opposing it is because they broadly agree with it, because it's part of a general neoliberal project to centralise power. When people talk about a new world order, let me know in the chat. You think this is what they mean?
One Health is another part of this. One Health is a concept that was created to enable the WHO with these documents to take over jurisdiction of everything in the world.
So this piece of legislation, oh, just everything in the world, sign here.
By saying that climate change, animals, plants,
animals, you know, all that stuff.
Water systems, food systems,
Boys to men, Monopoly, cats, orchids,
are all central to health. Also embedded in this concept is a peculiar notion that humans are no longer of greater value than animals.
Value animals now. It's an extraordinary piece of legislation. Let me know if you think that this is precisely what globalism is. Is this why you've lost faith in neoliberal democracy? Is this why you suddenly have an interest in demagoguery and populist figures that are able to harness the emotion of a nation and say, I will change things, I will stand up for the people? Is this precisely the type of politics that we require? Do we need to stand up against these kind of globalist measures? And why aren't these things more widely discussed? Why do legacy media not say, hey, this WHO treaty seems to be pretty significant, given it's going to make you less important than a hamster? It only wants to control things like animals and minerals and vegetables, like it's some sort of party game. It wants control of social reality. Isn't that of some concern to you? Given in particular the way that the last 3 years went down, all of the things that are blindly described and draconianly controlled as conspiracy theories, the legitimate studies that were ignored, the flawed studies that were amplified, the indemnity that was granted, the propaganda that reached fever pitch, all of this seems to have been conveniently forgotten. We usher in a new piece of legislation called a treaty that seems to be treating all of us literally like we're worse than animals. But that's just my thing. Why don't you let me know and use it in the chat? Remember, we stream every day at these times. More important than any of that, if you can.
Stay free.
Stay free. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free. Will provide your salvation. This is what you must investigate. It is not. When people love you, we always feel it's because of their strength or the capacity or the virtuosity, but often it's the vulnerability and the fragility, because we all know that this vulnerability and fragility is something we share. This is what comedy is for me, Stephen. It's the ongoing acknowledgement. Everyone's running some game. I'm this, I'm doing this, I've got this going on. I'm not going to die. It's all going to fall apart. It's all going to fall apart, except for these permanent principles and a connection to the eternal achievable through consciousness. This is why I need ceremony. This is why I need practice. This is why from this place of I'm not good enough, nobody loves me, I don't fit in. The only way that I can achieve trust is through having some authority or value as accredited by a culture that I don't even bloody trust, as compared with a metric that I don't even agree with. Instead of this now, and again, continual, moment to moment, I'm not suggesting that I am any better than anybody else, just that I'm not any worse than anybody else. That's the biggest thing that I'll offer. It's ongoing, it's continual, but the thing, I'm glad of it now. I'm glad of the wounding, and you will too, whoever you are. You will be. It is sadly a gift to you. That doesn't mean it's right or that there weren't perpetrators, or that it's not bad, or that the
culture doesn't need to change, or any of those things, all those things are definitely true. But from it, all of the time you see it. Go Great Ormond Street, go anywhere. If you watch the Paralympics, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. People overcome.
And I ask that because so many become frustrated that the wounding, they haven't been able to overcome it. They become frustrated by that because a lot of the kind of, I don't know, maybe spiritual doctrine, maybe whatever. So you can do this retreat and then you won't be a narcissist or you won't be a whatever, right? And then they try it, they buy the course, then they still are. They find themselves reacting in those old ways and being triggered, and the machinery that you spoke of that comes up when we're triggered is still there, and they go, ah! I need to buy another course.
We do need to be very self-compassionate, and I think we have to perhaps recognise that it is not a commodity that can be externally required, but an external coordinate can indeed ignite that which is already there, dormant and latent and waiting to be born. Precisely the necessity for initiation we activate that which is already there. Activated surrender, not passive surrender. Not passive surrender, activated surrender. I'm a vessel. I'm here for whatever you are. I trust myself, God. I pray to you, God, not my limited conception of you, God, with my tiny little mankind mind. I pray to you, God, as you know yourself to be, and I open myself to you, God. I'm going to descend and holy. Please use me. Please take away from me everything that is not of use to you. Put aside all my preconceptions and use me, God. This utilizes me. It becomes a portal. You become a vessel.
I want to stay on how you live. So I understand your sort of morning routine there, but if I zoom out on where you live, why you choose to live there, your relationship with work, now that you have this, I think, greater clarity on institutions and how you balance that.
Well, like I have to make a lot of content, because every day I'm on Rumble. Every day I make an hour of content. Every day we make an additional 10 to 15 to 20-minute video on a news subject. Establishment, narratives, and a way of explaining that is hopefully inclusive. Every day we have other social media content. We have a business, like that. I'm part of a significant business endeavor that I regard as a movement rather than a business. But as you are all too aware, if it doesn't function as a business, it will not function at all. So it has to have good hygiene and output.
You're a CEO.
I literally am here, not under the pretense of being a CEO, but because it's my job, and I do have a diary, although I don't keep it myself, and I try not to look at it, but it exists. And so I have to participate continually with that and ensure that an organisation is around me that is able to facilitate the things that I'm good at and accommodate the many things where I am currently looking to improve. I have to make all of the content. We try to do this in 3 days. That means a couple of days a week I'm available for different types of expedition and adventure, such as this one. This is why, for me, the spiritual life, it has to come first. But not out of a sort of an ethical evaluation. Spirituality in the end is a survival technique. Esoteric. It's not like I'm doing this thing like wading around incense or dressing up the road. I'm trying to not go crazy and end my life and damage the life of people around me by devoting myself. They say only the really crazy people become saints. Only the really crazy people would even consider it. You have to need it. It has to be beyond wanting, because wanting is just here to keep the blob going.
How does it feel to be human? Could you describe it to me?
Sometimes it's amazing, but sometimes it's very, sometimes it's very, very fast. Sometimes it's very volatile. I feel like it undulates a lot. This I understand to be very common to addicts. Experiences of extreme high, extreme low, fastness, not natural to be serene, evaluating information very, very quickly. It feels fast sometimes, very fast. And it has a strong sense of craving and longing, which is a type of magnetism, I suppose. And I suppose magnetism is a longing for unity, connection. It's very difficult to discern physical forces because they are, by their nature, non-anthropological, and it's very easy to anthropomorphize physical phenomena like gravity or magnetism or whatever. So what it feels like with me is that there is a great deal to get done. That's what it feels like. There is a great deal that needs to get done. And in order to do it, I have to surrender strongly, otherwise I will mess it up badly. That's what it feels like. So that's why there's a lot of ceremony that is communing with that which is unknowable. You know, prayer, ceremony with other people, acknowledging the sacred, not forgetting the sacred. But the most important things are difficult to measure and weigh, but they are there anyway. And so each day there is much work to be done, and I'm a father of young children, and I have a dog that I adore, and I have many animals. So I have a lot of very simple pastoral duties that have to be done. And I have a lot of spiritual things that have to be done, told me theatre. So there's a lot to be done. And then often I get to a point where I'm so tired that the whole enterprise feels like it could collapse inward like a narcissistic semi-gothic souffle. So there has to be a lot of caution, Also, I'm a person, I absolutely identify and agree with a sense of purpose and mission. And a deep
Greek. No, it's like Greek.
Significant changes imaginable are possible by virtue of the fact that they are imaginable, in fact, because the role of imagination we see all around us in every building, every object, every book, every cultural artifact, as well as the flawed and defunct aspects of our culture, also imagination.
Sounds like Rickroll.
Brings the unmanifest into the manifest.
Do you ever find yourself, because you are a content creator, do you ever find yourself slipping in, and when you play that game, you're dealing with algorithms and metrics? And
I really hope it's like Rickroll. Please say it's like Rickroll.
Does that ever trigger your old, the old machinery?
Yeah, I try to not go near it. Because in a sense, back to basics for me, recovery is somewhat based on abstinence. Like, I don't have an odd drink or the occasional line or the occasional well, I don't do it with hygiene there, because if I start, it's very difficult to stop and another momentum takes over. So yes, it is, of course it is, because these are part of, again, part of the blog, part of the primal ooze competition, is part of who we are. It is part of who we are. So I try to stay out of the ring, as one of my teachers says, stay out of the ring.
What are you working on? What are you working on improving? You highlighted, you said your strengths and then your things you hope to improve.
Me always. Patience. Try to be patient. Impatience is ridiculous. To think I know when something should happen is a mental concept. So I try to work on patience. Be very, very patient. Mostly I work on this. But it's more
autism
by surrendering self.
Your beats. Like he has autism.
And that's a very, 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 very difficult thing to practice, particularly when agitated.
What does that mean?
Okay. We achieve so much through will. I'm going to create a podcast. Oh, look, I did that thing I was going to do. Now I have to create various sets around the globe. But to believe that there is a greater power that will come into being if I surrender, that become intuitive, what one of my teachers calls the whispers on the wind, that I will be directed, that my job is to stay out of my way, that my life is none of my business, to not look at my day like it's a chunk of food, that, oh, it's my day, I'm going to eat it up. This is, oh wow, this gift, I'm alive, oh my God, what a miracle, this is incredible. And to stay in that feeling of grace, and stay in that feeling of gratitude, and to spot as quickly as possible when I inevitably give it up. Give up your connection to God for a biscuit. Give up your connection to God because someone has a nice car. Give up your connection to God because someone says something about you on the internet. Give up your connection to God because people lie about you or attack you. Don't give up your connection to God. And in order to not give up your connection to God, you are going to have to cultivate a very strong connection to God. Because elsewhere, as you say, much noise, much distraction. What a coincidence that we live in an environment that seems to be cultivated in order to distract us from the ever-present divine.
When you say God, are you talking about a religious, specific religious deity? Or how do you define your God?
Loving unity and absolute respect for individual identity within them.
Do I find this God in a particular book or every book?
It's up to you, mate.
Do you consider yourself to be part of a religion?
Yeah, I mean this one, the only one, they're all the same. I suppose if you want some help, perennialism by Aldous Huxley is a good place to look at, where he identified, in the same way that Joseph Campbell and Carl Jung, it could be said, identified respectively that there are mythic tropes that appear to recur in all cultures. he began to write a famous book, which I believe gave the name to the phrase perennialism, in which he observed that Eastern mysticism, Sufism from the world of Islam, and certain aspects of Christianity, particularly Gnostic Christianity and what is commonly regarded as first century Christianity, had within them not archetypes as in, you know, the crucifixion, which we know occurs in many folk tales and mythologies, not just in Christianity, not narrative devices or characters that recur, but ideologies that occur, principles, values that occur in all of them. And many of them, Aldous Huxley, as Huxley offers, are about overcome the self. There is something bigger than the self. You're not real. Who are you when you don't have your name? They call it the unborn in Buddhism. Marcus Aurelius says, you are dead. Your life is over. Now live the rest of your life properly. Get rid of it. Put down the corpse, they say in Buddhism. In Christianity, die that you may be born again. The flesh man must die. The carnal man of wanting and longing must die, that the transcendent man be born. You're getting in the way. You're getting in the way of your memories and your stories and your projects and your values and your virtues, all but the universal, ubiquitous, ever-present archetypal virtues that Huxley explains, and elsewhere through Ewan and Campbell, we get the idea that there's some sort of ulterior cultural force, not cultural force, beyond that, way beyond beyond culture. Culture is what we create. Indigenous expressing itself through us. It's talking to us all the time. All the time. It's here, it's everywhere. It's waiting to be discovered by us collectively and individually. And what better job could we have than to find it ourselves and help others to find it?
I think the reason why is because when people hear the word God, they think of the man in the sky.
Well, they should stop that. Does it help them?
That's good. If you don't behave, you're going to go to hell. That's an idea that a lot of people struggle to get on board with.
But it's because people have been lazy, because we are in the Kali Yuga. We are in a time of darkness. They're forgotten in this darkness. But when people say there is a father, they mean there is a figure that is more powerful than you, that loves you. And if you don't do what's right, to hell. Not after, you are in it. If you don't do what's right, you are, oh no, I'm so unhappy, I'm in this bed sit that we talked about earlier. Why? Because you didn't listen to the Father, because you perhaps couldn't find the Father, because, as I've alluded to many times, you live in a culture that wants to distract you from the Father or the Mother or whatever word helps you, that is there within you, waiting to be born, that you'll be distracted from, understandably, because of the primal urges to compete and acquire and eat and defecate. All of this is normal, ordinary, forgive yourself immediately, and now move forward to what it truly means. For understandably, I understand all the problems of religion. Religion shouldn't make you hate other people. Religion should make you love everyone. They've all got that written in there. Why don't we focus on that bit? Because if people start doing that, you can't manipulate them moving around on a little chessboard and turn them into little consumer blocks, obviously.
Well, where does love fit into about romantic love? Because I thought about something that stuff you said about our ancestors, and is monogamy the path forward? Is romantic love a framework for stability that we need to find God?
Oh, my friend. Well, there is an argument that romantic love is derived from the idea of chivalry, which was, as the word suggests, a kind of late medieval notion that we should focus our ardour on the individual, like a knight would attach the colours of their betrothed or beloved to their lance as they jousted, metaphorically. And really, though, this chivalrous idea is but one aspect of love, and they note that many people never had actual conjugal relationships with the symbolic feminine, divine feminine figure that they would attribute that quality to. Romantic love perhaps, as all forms of love, obsession, attachment ultimately are, I've taught this, I didn't make this up, are the inappropriate substitute for the true love of God. What is love? Whether you love West Ham United, or your wife, or your children, or your beautiful, it sounds new, breathworker girlfriend, except for the desire, longing, yearning to be at one with, to be connected to acknowledge that what's in there is the same as what's in here, that we have a shared purpose. Isn't love the felt awareness of the true unity that undergirds apparent separation? We come into form for a little while. All of us were twice before we were a single cell. You were a single cell, then you were two cells in the belly of your mother, and way back you were an amoeba. And there it is in your programming and your coding. The unity is there, materially and practically. Forget esoteric theology, forget ontology. It's there as a fact, as an observable fact. It's there as a cosmic fact. There was a Big Bang. Unity is there. Love is the felt remembrance of this. Why does love feel good? Although love, as we know, can be very painful when love is not reciprocated, when love is rejected, when love cannot unfold. This love is more than a sensation. It is a duty, and it is the deepest truth of our kind. That when we love one another, we acknowledge the truth that we're not separate from one another. Isn't it glorious to move from that position? I don't like that person. I don't like that person. Then, oh my God, they're the same as me. I love them. I love them because you have recognized the truth and beauty says that there is something. It rewards us. It rewards us. It's speaking to us. I heard it argued that once there was a great unity, and the infinite intelligence, for its own amusement, lost in the atemporal, aspatial abyss, sent all things into fragmentation, only to see which ones would awaken and recognize the unity of our origin, the deep unity of our origin. When will we come home? When will we come home to love?
You fell in love, then you had 2 children. You've got a third on the way around the corner. That's a very special love that you've found fatherhood. What is I'm not a father yet, but I'd love to look down the road and get some lessons from you as a father. What lessons did fatherhood teach you about life and how we should be living?
Teaches me, taught me there's a lot more important things in this world than me, but I learned this lesson in a variety of ways now. There's a lot more important stuff in this world than what I want and what I think and what I reckon. It don't amount to much amidst the infinite. They taught me that love is real, that the most miraculous things are accessible and ordinary and animal, that you can procreate life into being what a gift, and it flows through you, and we're part of an endless chain, and God has no grandchildren. They belong to the world. They don't belong to you, and it's your job to just stand there and bring out of them whatever's in them, and just stand back and marvel and weep at what's in them. Weep. Like the horror, the beauty, the horror, the dreadful beauty of what a child unfolds into. Your awareness that they, in the best case scenario, they are walking into a future that you will not be there to guide them through. So I suppose what that asks of you is an understanding of your place in this world, and the acknowledgement both of your relative insignificance, simultaneous omniscience, omnipotence, simultaneous. It's a paradox. All energy comes from polarity. Acknowledge the polarity. Don't hate the polarity. Don't hate the others. Don't let them tell you those people are different from you because they wear a baseball cap, or they voted to leave Europe, or because they identify with these pronouns, or because they believe in this cause or that. The absolute unity. It shows you that the way you love your children must become the way you love all people. Love as Ramdas.
Yeah, that's another thing that mentioned no problem
Tell the
with
truth.
understanding.
Not easy.
Loving your children
Not easy.
does not mean trying to fuck your children. Just saying.
It teaches you everything. It teaches you everything to become a father. It teaches you you're going to need other fathers. It teaches you you're going to have to become a father. It teaches you you're going to have to become a father to that little boy. It teaches you everything. All lessons are there. All lessons are there.
Why would I say that? Yeah, but I don't speak Greek.
It was so visible in
I think that's what that is. I don't speak Greek. Or Egyptian, maybe. I
That
don't know.
particular sentence was difficult for you to say. As if it seemed to
Because it's so ordinary, Stephen. Any old lady, any old man, you just chat to anywhere. Oh, your mum was like that. My dad was like that. My little girls. It's just so beautiful.
What are the lessons about the future that they you try and give them, if any at all? And how do you feel about the future that they're going to go into?
I'm trying my best to arm them. I'm trying my best to arm them. I'm trying my best to harm them like Sarah Connor or something. I'm just trying to tell them. And also, they are them. I see every day how they're not powerful already. So, they do all right. God has no grandchildren.
It's just me.
They do all right.
Go to sleep.
I know they're gonna, I know.
Go to sleep.
All we can do for each other, beyond father or daughter, is become who you are, become who you are, become who you are, become who you are. Trust that it's going to be beautiful, that you're not ugly, that you're not hideous, that you've made mistakes, you've done stuff wrong, you've had stuff done to you, make it also all of this, and you become who you are, become who you are, become who you are. So all I want is, I try to not go, this is everything.
Back to sleep.
Don't go unconscious. Don't go unconscious. Stay present, stay present. Things will make you go unconscious. It might happen as I leave this room. It might happen when the people from the next room come in. You can go unconscious at any moment. Don't go unconscious.
Okay.
Stay present now. God is now. May you find God now. That's the only place you're going to find God. You're going to find him yesterday. You're going to find him in the week. God's here now. Find the absolute, amazing God and the absolute unity, absolute inclusivity, absolute love, absolute unity. So me, I'm basically, look, you know what I mean? I can't live like that with my kids, can I? Like banging on them like John Wesley from the pulpit of MLK. I just gotta say, all right, how's it going? Do you want that to eat? I'm not letting you eat that. Why not? You know what I mean? Maybe why don't you tell me stuff you've done at school? What do you mean you've got a boyfriend? I'm doing all I'm saying, all the normal chats everyone's having. But what I'm trying to do is recognise they ain't gonna get a better candidate than me, for good or for real. So I better get out of the way. Get out of the way for them.
Russell, thank you so much. Thank you for being an inspiration to me in so many ways. One of the ways that I think, you're completely in a league of your own, outside of the comedy and all that, is the way that you communicate ideas in a way that is so good. I know you must be aware of this. They're so brilliant and poetic. And you said it halfway through this conversation that it's intentional in the use of words. Yeah. You could use simple words, but you choose poetry. That's the best way I can describe it. Why?
It's not only insight like that. I think of perhaps one of the great archetypes of the working class we have nowadays, Danny Dyer.
Yeah.
He's a poet. It's beautiful. It's nice to be specific. What do you mean? What do you mean? And to be honest, it's it's always there. It's always there. It's there.
It's funny because as I step ahead of the thing coming out of your mouth, and that's why you're able to string this poetry together in such a cohesive way, in a coherent way, because your brain seems to just be one step ahead of mine, like of the way that I would speak. It's more wonderful to observe, and it's a wonderful talent. I observe it as well in your new show, Brandemic. But it's wonderful. I watched all of the clips, I watched the trailer, what you managed to do in that show. So for anybody that doesn't know, Russell has a show called Brandemic, which is going to be available for just 2 weeks from June 25th, which you can watch online globally. You can pre-order it now. I pre-ordered it, and my partner's pre-ordered it, so even though we're going to be watching on the same screen. So there's 2 pre-orders. But it's this wonderful confrontation of the last couple of years, mixed with comedy at the heart of it, but also this permeating, really important message underneath there somewhere, which I think you use comedy in such a wonderful way to, if I may say, inject an important message into me through the medium of humour. And it's a wonderful skill that I've seen in some great comedians. Some of, Jimmy Carr, to his credit, he's wonderful. What he does, he uses a different form of comedy. The form of comedy you use to address very important subjects, genius. It's very, very hard to do. And in fact, when I sat here with Jimmy, he said he's trying to do more of that. I've seen a few great comedians like the Chappelles of the world, who I saw in New York a couple of weeks ago, and Aziz Ansari. He's fantastic at that. I saw him at the store do that as well. I highly recommend everybody go and get pre-order Brandemic. It'll only be available for 2 weeks, and if you go check out the trailer on YouTube, it's fucking hilarious. It confronts all the things a lot of people are a bit too scared to confront, but with a real elegance, a real class. So, I have to mention Community, which is an event that's taking place. When is it? July?
It's July 14th. July 17th. Is it polite for me to ask your girlfriend's name?
Melanie.
Melanie. Yeah, come with Melanie. Massachusetts would be right up her alley. Arms there, Viet Simpkins there, Vandana Shiva, proper leaders, both in political and spiritual spaces, because in the end these are fake divisions. There is only you'll love it. Come to a turn on a Saturday night.
I saw a poster for it, and I thought this can't be real because of the people that are there, and they're all gathering. I thought it can't be in person; it must be online. And then I found out it was in person as well. So, 14th of July to the 17th of July in Heion Way.
Why is there a river that bifurcates England and Wales, or they separate England and Wales? Well, actually, England and Wales are conceptual, so bifurcates that bit of land that is currently. It's there's on a campsite I went to during the pandemic. I went there on a holiday in one of the vans, you know, that you can do up from within. And we had such a lovely time there. And we did a small festival last year, and this year we're doing a bigger festival. And the money that we make, we give to people with addiction and mental health issues, various charities that we support with the Stay Free Foundation. It's proper. It's an attempt to live how we might live.
That is probably the most compelling thing to me, because I literally wrote a chapter in the book called The Journey Back to Human. And so it's wonderful to see something called community that's doing exactly that, bringing us back to what it is to be a human. And as you say, the cause is that the proceeds of this event going to our phenomenal, including the radio charity, which is charity in Plymouth.
Oh yeah.
Trevi, yeah.
Trevi Women. That's the only treatment centre in the country that is able to take women with addiction issues and complex needs that have kids already, because obviously it's very difficult to look after women that are drug addicts that have kids and stuff. So that place, though, they do a fantastic job down in your ends in Plymouth.
You can heal yourself, but also the proceeds will help to heal others, which I think is a phenomenal thing. So thank you for that. We have a closing tradition on this podcast where the last guest leaves a question to the next guest, not knowing who they're leaving it for. You can have a 60-second conversation with anyone in your life, but it is the last conversation you will have with them.
No, that's a brilliant or evil question.
I always tell the guests, I say, because they've all been stitched up by the last questions, when they stitch pay for it. You know,
you've already got to know them, and it's 60 seconds, and then that's the last
conversation. Who do you call and what do you say?
The thing is that can I just break this down a bit? You're dispatching them after that.
Yeah.
So it's in a way, and you have to know them. Is that contained in the connection?
Well, you can interpret.
It's only 60 seconds. 60 seconds, and I've never seen them again. I mean, there's no one in my life I love that I want to give up on that. So 60 seconds, I'm never going to see him again afterwards.
Yeah.
There's some good people that I've met though, aren't I? But I'm going to pluck a virtual stranger. A virtual stranger. Because why? It's only 60 seconds. You're letting go of them.
Oh no, you're not. I don't think it means that you can never see them again.
I know my daughter and my wife, or
I think what I interpreted it was, it's your last day on Earth. You get a phone call.
It gets worse. There's no more me. Oh my god! Who wrote this question?
Some evil. No, I'm joking.
You know, tell us it's anonymous.
Sometimes it'll eventually come out on a card that people can play with their friends. So you'll find out.
You're always hustler. You hustler every day. All right. So just say something like love. I'll let you 6 seconds.
Yeah.
But and they're alive already. You can't even get someone that's dead back. I'd love a minute on Nan. I'll take my Nan. I'll take the 60 seconds with me Nan. I love you, Nan. I'm all right. I'm not so crazy. You were right about the drugs, though.
Why not?
She was so lovely.
Yeah.
She loved me so much. It was so unself-conscious.
I miss my Nana so much.
So unself-conscious. Oh, you're right, darling. Shame, isn't it?
Oh my god, I do say that. I have my Nana's voice in my head too.
You're okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Russell. I love to meet you, and thank you so much for being here. You could have been anywhere, so I really appreciate your time. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me. Really. The scenery, the environment's so great, and the conversation's incredible.
Yeah. Intentionally, I told you. I'm so delighted that you have listened to this podcast. I've been with it for a very, very long time. And there are so many reasons why I became a member. But also, me and my team are absolutely obsessed with data-driven testing, compounded growth, monitoring, all the things you've had me talk about on this podcast. And that very much aligns with the values of Whoop. Whoop provides a level of detail that I've never seen with any other device of this type before. Constantly monitoring, constantly learning, and constantly optimizing my routine. But providing me with this feedback, Whoop can drive significant positive behavioral change. I think that's the real thesis of the business. So if you're like obsessed and focused on becoming the best version of yourself from a health perspective, you've got to check out Whoop. And the team at Whoop have kindly given us the opportunity to have 1 month's free membership for anyone listening to this podcast. Just go to join.whoop.com/CEO to get your Whoop 4.0 device and claim your free month. As you know, the first sponsor of the podcast, and I'm one of the investors in the company. My relationship with Fuel, with the ready to drink range, which I have here in front of me on the table. Why did I choose to drink this? First and foremost, convenience. I'm not the type of person that wants to spend a huge amount of time whisking or mixing things together. And I don't typically have a day. And there are some days, not always, but there are some days where, because of the limited amount of time I have, the choices that I would ordinarily reach for aren't necessarily the most healthy choices. They're certainly not nutritionally complete. So as soon as I discovered Huel existed, because of a wonderful guy who worked in my teams in Manchester, walked past me wearing a Huel t-shirt, I inquired what it was, he told me what it was, and then I bought the ready-to-drink bottles into the office. It was a game changer for me. And meant that on those days where I'm tempted to reach for less nutritionally complete options or less healthy food options, I have something right underneath my desk in the fridge that I can reach for that allows me to remain in line with my health and nutrition goals. They have now increased their listings with Huel, so you can now get the RTD ready to drink in Tesco Expresses all across the UK. Repeat after me. Absolument. Quoi que vous enflammez tout ça.
This is freaking genius. I've taught it to no curing people's anxiety.
There is nobody like Mel Robbins. There is nobody.
If I hadn't done what I did that morning, my life would have gone in a totally different direction. I'd probably be divorced. I'd probably be an alcoholic. My family would be torn apart. No idea what I'd be doing for a living or where I would be. I finally had the experience of being in my body and being safe and being okay. And I hadn't had that in a really long time. So you asked me in the beginning, kind of what is it that created all of this insight or this drive to figure it out? And I think I just figured it out. You just fucking did it.
They call her the female Tony Robbins, but she's so much more than that. She's one of the most incredibly vulnerable, honest, introspective, wise people I have ever met in my entire life. And she's written 3 best-selling books that offer a very simple solution to have a transformative impact on your entire life. I first found out about Mel Robbins some 7 years ago when I watched a video of her talking about how to motivate yourself every single day. And when my team told me that she was coming to London for a short trip, I said, we have to get her on this podcast. There is nobody like Mel Robbins. There is nobody. I've never seen Mel Robbins cry during an interview. This podcast, it happens again. We have an epiphany. Mel removes her glasses. She begins to cry. And it's an incredibly touching moment. I think for a lot of you, this is going to be the favorite podcast on this channel that you've ever listened to. So without further ado, I'm Stephen Butler, and this is the Direct CEO. I hope nobody's listening, but if you are, then please keep this to yourself. Before we started recording, I said a lot of nice things about you just a few seconds ago, and
I talked about how sort of introspective you are, how much you've achieved, your remarkable ability to speak about ideas and things you've discovered in yourself. You really are a stand-up individual. And so whenever I meet a stand-up individual, it always begs the question to me, having a small background in like childhood psychology, what is it? What was the cauldron in which Mel was sculpted that made you the person you are today at the very start of your life?
I guess that I'm trying to think about, like, there's no defining moment, because I had great parents who did the best that they could with what they were handed in terms of their own childhoods and patterns and thinking. And I grew up in a tiny little town where nothing really happened, but one thing did happen, and that was in fourth grade. I was at a family kind of ski trip thing, and in the middle of the night, I woke up and one of the kids was on top of me. And yeah, like on top of me, molesting me. We're going here like fast. I mean, you asked like what was the thing, and this was like the first thing that popped into mind. And it was because I didn't remember the experience for a very long time. I did not remember that this had happened until I was in my late 20s. And if you look at the spectrum of what can happen to somebody in terms of sexual abuse, which unfortunately is very common experience for people, this was a very mild experience. Like, it wasn't anybody that I knew.
Mild experience?
Something was happening to this kid in their life. It wasn't scary. It was confusing. But I was awoken from a state of sleep. And I immediately felt and knew that something was wrong. And it's my first experience in my life of what psychologists call disassociating. I literally left my body. And I rolled over for how it ended, because I wasn't in my body to be there. And the very next morning, I'll never forget this. I hid underneath the sheets because it was a big bunk room and all the kids left to go downstairs to get ready to go skiing. And I remember waiting until I thought it was quiet. I threw the comforter off. I went down these steep stairs. I turned the corner and there was my mom. And she was cooking breakfast with some of the other moms. And she turned around and she said, "I'm asleep." And I immediately, Stephen, wanted to tell her. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw the kid. And in that moment, split-second child brain, I froze. And as much as I wanted to tell my mom, and I knew exactly what she did. I mean, she grew up on a farm. She had a spatula in her hand. She would have hit me last week. But I didn't know what the kid was doing. And in that moment, I lied. And I said, fine. And the day went on, and nothing happened. And I believe, whether it is a 30-year-long struggle with anxiety, or a tendency to disassociate, or the fact that I was chronically lying when I was younger, in any moment when I felt uncertain, I had no idea how that singular moment set me on a course that would last decades before I realized that all of these patterns of behavior that I was struggling with, I didn't know why I lied. I didn't know why I felt so uncomfortable to predict somebody's reaction. I couldn't understand why I would leave my body so many times. I couldn't understand why I had very few memories from my childhood. It wasn't until I started to understand human behavior, the way the brain learns patterns, the way that you need and can break patterns and replace patterns and renew patterns, that I began this journey that I've been on for the past 10 years of understanding my own breakdowns, my own heartaches, my own struggles, and sharing what I'm learning with anybody who will listen. How's that for me?
Did you ever tell anybody? When did you first tell someone about that incident?
Well, I never told anybody because it's like I forgot about it in that moment. Like I just suppressed what had happened. And there were lots of times in my life when I was a teenager, when I was in college, when I was in law school, particularly in law school because my anxiety just came to a huge crescendo in law school. just completely out of control with my thoughts, with how I felt in my body. I had not been diagnosed yet with anxiety or anxiety disorder and had not been medicated, did not even know anxiety was a thing. So this would have been 1992 through 1994. And I didn't even remember it. And so I didn't even remember this incident until I was 28 years old. And I was sitting in like kind of one of these life improvement seminars where you're in a windowless conference room and everyone's got a name tag on. And there's a person up front and this woman stands up and she was talking about how she had been molested when she was younger by a babysitter that her parents hired. And the story went on how she had been in therapy for a long time. She was starting to deal with the trauma of the experience. She had forgiven the babysitter. She had forgiven her parents, but she could not forgive her sister. And the person leading the seminar kind of looked at her and said, what's wrong with your sister? And she said, well, I'm so angry that this babysitter was choosing me. I'm in this room getting abused. My sister is out there watching TV. And when she said that, I had an immediate memory. And there was this triggering moment where I was sitting in this windowless conference room at the age of 20. I was physically in that bunk bed. Because what I remembered in that moment was, oh my God, when I woke up in the middle of the night with this kid on top of me, I looked to my right, my younger brother was sleeping in the bed right there. And I don't want this person to hurt him. And that's why I would over and stay quiet. And so it was this woman telling a story about her sister that triggered me to remember it. And as soon as I remembered it, oh my God, I told my brother, I told my parents, I just started talking about it. I think one of the things that I'm grateful for is that I process things by talking about it. Once the dam is open, baby, like the floodgates are coming. And so I tend to process things by speaking about it. And for me, it wasn't the incident itself that created a lot of grief for me. Because I know, based on the work that I've done as a crisis intervention counselor, with domestic violence, the work I did as a criminal defense attorney.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
I can't really hear you properly, but can you come pick me up?
Yeah, I'm leaving now.
What?
I'm leaving right now.
Okay.
Okay, see you soon.
See you soon,
Love you. Cool. You go pick up Daddy, mister? Oh. Yeah.